Welcome to the People's Guild.
Each week we explore the Splinterland universe with guests from all across the mythical land of Praetoria.
Join us on our journey as we discuss the evolution of the game, the strategy, the lore, and the exciting path that lies ahead.
To support the People's Guild, make sure you subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts, and also check us out on PeakD, YouTube, and Twitter.
To send your questions, suggestions, and epic battles in our comments through Twitter or email at thepeoplesguildspl@gmail.com. We'll feature the best in our episodes and maybe airdrop you some prizes. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the People's Guild. Another week, another episode, another great guest. Before we introduce the guest, we got a teed up cameo appearance from the one and only Jimmy G. What's up, Jimmy G?
Yo, Jimmy G here, introducing our incredible guest. We have a very, 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 very special guest today. He's one of the most famous players in all of Praetoria, in all of the universe, and he's world famous throughout all of Praetoria for his Flesh Golem collection. Mr. Matthew, who actually owns 2 real castles, Clarke. Welcome to the People's Guild.
Repping the South Side.
Yes.
Yo.
Whole Southern Hemisphere. Thanks for having me on. And great to see you again, Ali G. It's been a while.
Too long.
Yeah.
And I definitely need better Ali G next time.
I thought that was Christopher Walken that showed up.
I know that slips into it. It's because it's that hell New York thing just slips into that. Ali G's got the English guy doing bad New York accent. It's hard to fake that there.
I feel like you're about to give me a pocket watch.
Hey, buddy.
Well, MC, welcome back, man. It's been a while. A lot cooking. Big fan of the 101. I know that a lot of our listeners enjoy podcasts and tune into the 101 as well, so are probably abreast to your episodes and ongoings over there. But appreciate you making time on the heels of a major milestone of yours. 50,000 manual battles.
50,000 wild manual battles. It's been a long time since basically the start, and I've watched them all, at least to the point where I can tell what the outcome's going to be. I skip ahead sometimes when I realize I'm desperately defeated. I came very close to 50% win rate. It was 49.99 something. It's 24,000.
Oh, then you obviously need to play more to get it up to 50. Come on, what you talking about?
Like Bart in the special class, we're going to catch up by going slower than them. I think by now, if I'm not good, I'm not good. I've never played games like this before. I'll be honest with you. I've come very much from the economist, Austrian economics, through crypto, cypherpunk. I can't code my way out of a brown paper bag, but as far as the ethos, I'm right there. Satoshi's my homeboy. I have come from that direction, and then gaming has been, to me, just this amalgam where it all falls together, and Splinterlands has been the best, and has always from the start, I think, really been the best application of that, the concepts. And so when Aggie, I maintain, I feel like I heard about Splinterlands before Yabba did, because I remember there was Aggie did a show, Peace, Abundance and Liberty, PAL, on Discord, and he'd have 20,000 listeners. This is very early days of Steam. And I remember him saying about 6 months before I heard anything about it, he said, I want to do a game. I want to call it Steam Monsters, and I've even got the art ready. And I don't think Yabba was even around at the time. I might have my facts mixed up, but there's a chance that I heard about Splinterlands before Yabba did. But I can't back that up.
Shots
but
fired.
I know.
Shots
I know.
fired.
I remember Aki saying that and thinking that's a really interesting, and just sitting on it and mulling it over. And then when the cards came out and they didn't have any stats or anything like that, and I just thought there's guys with boxes, big boxes of cards that they never use, just the commons, and they like to. They mostly use the legendaries and all the flash new ones, but the guys who play these games have boxes and boxes just taking water damage. And so they're going to not prioritize those common cards because they're so prolific in there. They're going to take the physical world and assume that applies to the digital, to the Web3 space. So, and that's what happened. There were people who were just buying thousands and thousands of packs and then just opening them and then reselling the legendaries and then just dumping the commons and even the rares. And so I thought this is a perfect opportunity to hoard one specific common card. And even if this game goes well, to tie my own personal brand, my own personal identity to that specific card. Anytime a streamer is streaming and opening packs, I got a flesh golem. MattClarke, I got one of your flesh golems, right? Just that whole association thing. And I got to be honest, it worked a treat for return on investment as far as people knowing my name, my brand. It's been huge. And this is not a. It's funny as an Australian, we have tall poppy syndrome where you don't want to get ahead of yourself. You don't want to get too big for your britches. Anybody who does really, really well tends to get cut down. There's a crab in a bucket sort of aspect to that as well. But so we never really want to big note ourselves. But in the post-scarcity AI future, the attention economy, having a brand, building that brand is its own form of wealth. And a lot of people don't necessarily understand that. I moved out of Bitcoin. I moved roughly 12 Bitcoin across into Steam 8 years ago. Bitcoin was good to me, right? It went 100x, but it was anonymous and it was too easy to take. So when I saw Steam, and at the time there was a 2-year lock-in period, I thought, well, this is great. 104 weeks, I can buy this stuff. And again, because I can't code, I got the concept of Bitcoin, but I didn't know how I was vulnerable. Am I going to go back one day and just my wallet's empty? And I've never even find out why it got emptied or how. So Steam really attracted me with the long staking period. And so that's sort of one of the main reasons why I moved across, is that there's some safety here. I can see I've been powered. Somebody's powered me down. Well, this is terrible. I need to go and seek help and stop this and reverse it and do the account recovery process to get it back. But there's a level of safety there, and you're not chumming the water. The sharks aren't circling because there's easy victims and we can permanently take the Bitcoin. Best you can do on Steam at the time and now Hive is to take their active keys and then start a power down. And you've got 30 days to reverse that, change the keys, and the account recovery system is really, really brilliantly designed. So I feel like Bitcoin, it was a fantastic project and still is. I'm all for it, big fan. But I also feel like the technology has moved along enough that it's time to move on to something else. And so that's sort of why I embrace Steam. And then seeing the gaming as it's such a huge industry, gaming. And if you just capture just a small portion of that, things can be huge. So yes, I sort of stacked those common cards, the flesh golems. They didn't have stats then. Happily, they came out really well. Came out to be a good, solid card. Especially when the llama came out, I really feel like the llama was sort of a love letter from the game to me personally, because, man, that thing, 13 mana, flesh golem llama.
I still do that in brawls. Flesh golem llama.
How do you not? How do you not?
Yeah.
So
did you decide early on? Like how early? Like when did you decide I'm going for all these flesh golems? And second part of that question, I heard a rumor once that it was part of a maybe inappropriate joke that you chose flesh golem. Okay.
Yeah. So it was just a fleshy sort of. There's too many pun opportunities. This is before the cards even had any stats. I started really seriously stacking it, and I was buying thousands for less than a cent each. These things were just because they were basically rubbish that other people are just trying to clear off their shelves, so to speak, mentally. Where I don't want a big collection. I just want this, and so it really did work out well. I could have I could have probably stacked 2 or 3 different commons instead of just focusing so much on the fleshies. And I don't know, it was the innuendo possibilities, I think, and also the fact that he looks really muscular but also stupid. And I thought, if you're going to build an army of something, you want big, muscular, stupid brutes that nod and follow orders, but aren't gonna rumble you and mutiny. So that was my thinking about it. He's angry and he's strong, but you just point him in that direction and he'll take care of your enemies for you. That's what you want in an army.
Yeah, and then he turned out to be one of the best cards in the set. Also,
that's right.
Best tank probably in the whole set, pretty much. Besides, LOD or something.
Yeah, and there's a couple of rule sets, commons and rares only, and then no legendaries. So stacking legendaries, they would maybe have been less playable in a way, because commons are generally more played. There's not a legendaries only rule set. So yeah, versatile, and it really is a good card, and I've got spots that I just can't resist playing it. I talk about all this stuff on the 101 as well, but it's nice to go back and reminisce about the way the game's changed and developed over the years. But I think to see a project like this starting and then to feel like you have some sort of an impact on where it goes is just so gratifying. And I'm very much one for ownership. So I know that, Yabba and Aggie, they started this project. It's theirs. It's their child. It's their baby. And obviously, with Aggie sort of stepping down from CEO and sort of taking a more peripheral role, it's been interesting times. But the satisfaction of building something yourself, to have input at various different stages. There was one card that had a name that was potentially offensive to a certain group, and Yabba rolled it. They made the announcement post, and it was like 5 a.m. my time, and I woke up at 7 a.m. and saw it, and went, we can't. So I DM'd Yabba and said, look, man, this card name, I don't think it's gonna fly. And he said, okay, we'll change it then. What should we change it? And I thought, that's fantastic to have that level of credibility. With that level of reach, where he didn't say, well, prove this to me. He didn't say you need to make an argument. He just said, I didn't realize, let's do it. So
what edition was that? What edition was that card in? Do you remember?
I don't remember. No, it was so long ago, and it was it's not necessarily knowledge that he would have had, and this is why people have focus groups. They have focus groups to say, we've got this big change coming up. We're naming all these. Is there any problems in there? But that level of responsiveness was just lovely, and I thought this is fantastic. It was similar to the Steam Hive thing, where Justin Sun sort of took over the Steam Incorporated and took the Ninja Mind stake, and that was such an interesting few weeks to live through. But it wasn't just the drama of it; it was being a part of it yourself, right? So I had enough, 90,000 staked Steam powered up, and so I'm voting for witnesses strategically, trying to get our people in and stop the sock puppets from taking over and seizing the chain. And it was just so riveting. Like, I really think there's Lord Butterfly's made a documentary I haven't seen yet called Free Chain. I haven't been able to find how to watch it, but I really think it would justify a season of like a TV show, like a real Hollywood production. Difficult to get some of the concepts understood, but the way that thing worked, and to live through it, to wake up very first thing, check what's going on, check in Discord, and who do we need to vote for to stop this from happening, and then the twists and turns, and the way, even the stuff that was stolen and then sent to an account that Justin had an anonymous account creator create for him. And then the anonymous service changed the keys and took it and sent the money to an exchange instead, and just posted, stealing is bad, and a picture of Robin Hood, things like that. It's just, to live through that was fantastic, and that was great. But also at the same time, seeing how the way the Steam Monsters guys navigated that was really good. The wisdom with which. And that really is what sold me on the project, I think, was the wisdom with which the team navigated that move, where Justin Sun came out with a list of enemies to the proper chain, to Steam, and the hackers, and these are the bad guys, and Splinterlands wasn't on that list, or Steam Monsters wasn't on that list. And it wasn't until after that list was released that then they strategically chose to move across to Hive. Kind of felt like they were always going to, but just the timing of it and the way they navigated that was absolutely brilliant. So when you feel that there's that intellect behind it, that there's that wisdom behind it, that there are capable people who care, smart, caring, they've got a clear vision for the future, that's what you get behind, right? And some people have said, why Splinterlands? Why not? Why do you risk your money? And you risk your money anywhere. If you leave it in dollars, you're just losing it slowly, but you're guaranteed to lose it slowly. Put it in the stock market.
In a bank. Even a bank these days is a risk, Put
it in shares, buy shares in some project. Well, is their competitor going to adopt AI better and faster than them and completely leave them in the dust? Is their payroll going to completely beggar them compared to the low cost? Right, the world is moving so quickly now that everybody is playing risky games with their money, whether they realize it or not. Everybody's playing risky games with their money. So why not play a game if you're playing a risky game?
Was free chain? It is officially out there, right?
It is. I tried to buy it with my Aussie credit card, but they get a bit dumb, my bank, with buying anything overseas or in foreign currency. So it just sort of threw up an error message, and I thought I'll circle back and try that again another day. I just haven't got around to it. But somebody did mention that it might be available more freely fairly soon, sort of towards the end of the year. I do follow Lord Butterfly on Twitter, but I'd love to see it. I think it'd make a fair. I really am looking forward to seeing it, because living through it, but then actually it was just names on a screen. But actually seeing the people involved interviewed, I think would be fantastic.
Yeah, so it looks like it's actually listed a couple of places. It's listed on IMDb. I see it at, I don't know if this is the production company that they hired or they ultimately went with to kind of do their advertising and that sort of stuff, but Galloping Entertainment, there's a couple of places it looks like it's listed, but I don't see anywhere you can actually watch the film.
Free or freeze?
Free chain.
Free chain. FREE.
Yeah.
Free chain.
Yeah, just one word. Free chain.
Gotcha. I thought freeze chain, kind of like a take on Freeze Frame by the Jay Giles band, but no such luck. Okay.
Cool.
Freeze chain.
Well, speaking of the Hive stuff, and maybe that's a good place to start. So we got Hive Fest coming up, and it's kind of, we hosted Keegs, you guys hosted Keegs. Keegs is, I love seeing guys like Keegs kind of step up and put themselves in a position of getting more involved with the community and kind of, come his big draw. He's a big DAO guy, and he loves the decentralization nature and talking about these different festivals across the world that really embrace this approach of decentralized decision making. And I love seeing the push from, a lot of the proposals and a lot of the places where the community gets involved is really gameplay related, card related, that sort of stuff. So seeing things begin to be addressed and called out from the other side of the coin, the nature in which proposals are moving through the system, and how does the community get eyes on these sorts of things, and is there a place where we could dial up transparency, and how do we amplify volume on these discussions? All of that sort of stuff is it's honestly been a really good breath of fresh air to kind of see how do we fine tune and really polish up our mechanics on getting this stuff from, okay, here's an idea that we're just beginning to toss the ingredients in and procure various voices in the community to kind of shape the ultimate proposal, to what does it look like when it makes it to the pre-proposal phase. That whole system, I don't think we've necessarily dialed it in terms of it's perfect. I think actually I would err on the side of Keegs that it's far from perfect. I don't know what does that perfect system look like, and we were talking a little bit about it off air, and I think there's there's a bit of a misconception that you, being the chairman of the DAO, have this end all be all voice, and you can, very easily stick your thumb on the scale and dictate the direction of some of these things, when actually you couldn't be further from that guy. And I've heard you come out multiple occasions and say, actually, on the contrary, I almost refuse to vote just out of, maintaining that integrity of I should be the unbiased opinion, and I should help facilitate these things, but I should not participate. So what are your thoughts, MC, on, what is an ideal DAO, or what is the good next step potentially look like in terms of how do we fine tune and polish our system, our mechanics in pushing things through the DAO?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I do love Keeg's passion, and he's got a clear background in these kind of games, and it's very clear talking to him that he's spent a lot of time thinking about this type of thing, and that's good. That's really what we want is the passion, but also that introspection, that real deep thinking about stuff. And I think it's difficult because the proposals are to change a system, and that system has already been established as a series of trade-offs. So like engineers say, there's not perfection, there's just trade-offs. There's always just trade-offs between all sorts of different competing interests and priorities. So when you consider that the game as it stands is already the result of all of the thought that's gone into making those previous decisions and those trade-offs, any proposal that to change some aspect of that is necessarily going to change several aspects of that. And so you need to have a very well thought through argument for the change that you're proposing. And I think that's part of the reason that the 100,000 DEC destroyed, burnt forever requirement is there. If you want to put up a proposal, you pay for it personally, but assuming it gets up, the entire community benefits from that. So you will, there are people who would have proposals that would be, I think, really, really benefit the game, but it's going to cost them their own money and they'll only get a slight benefit from it. Maybe it's not worth it to them. So in a way, it's a filter that we only get the most passionate people engaged enough to spend their money, but also we only get the people who have thought about it sufficiently to put up a proposal that passes to actually get through. So it's kind of two filters there. How much do you care? And also, how good is your proposal, to actually get through to an approved proposal that actually passes. And there is, I think, when you consider that other people's money is at stake, there is a value to the certainty of knowing how things are going to look 6 months from down the track and a year down the track. So any change that you make is introducing uncertainty into the system. Right, so people then become less clear and certain necessarily on where they want their money. So some people want to have their value in a fast-moving environment that's constantly responsive to changing attitudes and priorities of different different, like the meta shifting, and they want to be right at the cutting edge all the time. Others want to know that 2 years from now things are going to be roughly the same as they are because they've got strategies they want to develop and they want to know certain things about how the game's going to look. And so again, that's a trade-off between those two. So there are people who will flat out just say no to most proposals that change anything underlying. And there are others who are like keen to just try lots of stuff, just throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. So we're coming at it with lots of different personalities. And on top of that, then you get somebody like Keegs who rightly discerns that a lot of the conversation about a proposal happens not necessarily behind closed doors, but between individuals who are in a position to get it to pass or in a position to kill it. Because I know if I come up with a proposal and think, well, this is a good idea. Oh, yeah, I think it's a good idea, but will it get passed? Well, I don't want to waste my 100,000 DEC. So I'm not going to ask randoms who are playing in bronze and arrived a month ago. But if I'm going to check in with Brave Tofu, Crypto Eater, Vugtus, right, the big heavy hitters, Cryptomancer, say, hey guys, here's this idea. Do you what do you think? Do you think it'll pass in its current form? Do you think it'll get up? I'm basically saying, will you kill this? Because I don't want to waste my money if you're just going to kill it. right? And so to somebody who's not part of that discussion, it's a bit of a bugbear, because the proposal arrives and they say, well, hang on, there's clearly this is a big deal. This is a big proposal. Where was the chance for us to sort of put some input there to give some sort of feedback on how it looks and possible pitfalls and the like, without necessarily knowing how exhaustively it's been discussed in the past, or thinking they've missed an opportunity to weigh in before it became an actual proposal with that 100,000 DEC burnt. So there's a lot of trade-offs there. A couple of ideas that sprung to mind when we were discussing it before. I was thinking, we could have a reduced deck burn fee in exchange for a month-long proposal period, where you say, hey, look, this is an idea I had. I don't think it's ready to be pushed right through, but I'm going to throw in I'm going to burn 10,000 DEC, and we're going to talk about it for a month. Like, let's all talk about it and let's all open that public conversation. I do know, and this is where we can overlearn our lessons, which is another issue. But I do know that early on, when there was discussion going on, and this is almost pre-SPS, there was always a lot of very, very vocal people who didn't understand a lot about economics, who didn't understand a lot about the way the game was structured at the time. And you would get a lot of noise in conversations. So in one regard, yes, we don't want all of these discussions to be held behind closed doors, but by the other, we don't want them drowned out with people who are very, very passionate, but maybe don't understand what the problem is that we're trying to solve, how this proposal will solve it. It can be difficult to wade through the noise. So, and this is a lesson that we learned when, say, for example, when things were booming, when crypto gaming was massive, when our servers were melting, when we're adding more and more support staff, there's thousands of inquiries coming in every day. It became very, very difficult to sort of sort through all that noise. Now things are a lot calmer, and we're saying, well, why aren't we talking? There's only a few of us here to really discuss this. I kind of get that. But you got to realize that lessons were learnt back when they were back when things were different. And it's similar with Frontier Mode. We've been talking about Frontier Mode and how nice it is to earn cards that are actually transferable, that are saleable, that are actually valuable crypto assets, and people are coming out with this new lease of life and saying this is how things used to be, without understanding that the problem was that when we were bot ambivalent, when the game was bot ambivalent, and you could earn assets, that's when people just went, 100,000 accounts, let's just run all of these bot accounts and then we'll just dump the cards for whatever constantly. And so to solve that problem in that environment where bots were, at least ignored or we had no real policy towards them, locking down soulbound, making the rewards card soulbound was the solution to the problem that we had at the time. But with no bots in Frontier, at least that's the goal now, and I think we're doing a reasonably good job of keeping them out. Now we can go back to that, right? And now we can revisit that, but we don't want to lock in forever the way we solved a problem that's no longer necessarily true. And so I think there's definitely scope for more discussion around proposals, and I don't want to gatekeep, and I don't want to say you should have a certain amount of SPS before you get invited to these DM discussions. But then I completely understand why somebody would want to just quickly check in with the heavy hitters and say, will you kill this, before they go and burn their DEC.
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation, and what does that funnel look like? Ultimately, I kind of feel like, number one, I really love the idea of, maybe I foot the bill for 10% of the proposal cost, 10K DEC. All of a sudden, my workshop proposal appears on the SPS page. People can view it. It triggers that notification, because part of the issue is really visibility, right? Like we haven't been able to. The disconnect between the game and Discord is one that has long existed, and I don't know what the answer is. How do we bridge communication in game? Is pretty much non-existent. There is the guild chat, but the only time I ever click on that is maybe once a month when I pay my dues, sort of thing. Otherwise, everything happens in Discord, and there's a good chunk of folks, myself included, that it took me a good little while from entering the game to the point where I joined the Discord and I, learned where things were and learned how to navigate, and you kind of start getting a feel for, who's who and that sort of stuff. So I wonder if there's a world where we'll call it a workshop. The workshop proposal, gets put forth. I think the very nature of things, at least how they currently live, the very nature of things existing on Hive, so whenever I create that workshop article, I put my proposal out there. It lives there. I can filter through the comments. I think that the nature of it existing on Hive kind of serves as a bit of a filter for the most passionate. There have been proposals that I've seen have garnered, hundreds and hundreds of comments, but for the most part, I think it only, it kind of naturally acquires eyes and commentary from the most passionate, and not necessarily, I get the idea that not everybody is as educated, myself included. I'll be the first to tell you I'm certainly ignorant to a lot of the economic stuff that gets put out there, but I feel like it's my responsibility to get educated. And so I would love to see these kind of workshop proposals. And to take it a step further, imagine if, MC, you put a workshop proposal out there. Imagine there was a mechanic for me to deposit some DEC to fund that outstanding 90K held in escrow. And all of a sudden, if it garners the financial support to move through to proposal, great. We've got a month to really flesh out what does this workshop look like prior to entering into that 1 week pre-proposal phase. There is some technical stuff that would need to happen there, but I think for the most part, it feels like that would be an easy evolution of the DAO. It would achieve a lot of that sort of transparency that folks are looking for. At least the workshop would be out there, and there is that variable of time that is now introduced, because that seems to be the biggest thing. Like, by the time it makes it to pre-proposal, most of the time it's already quote unquote approved. If somebody has done their due diligence, talked to the big dogs with the 7-figure SPS that can make or break a proposal, by the time it gets there, more often than not, that homework has been done and the proposal is pretty much done and dusted. It's just got to go through the motions of that 2 week waiting period. But yeah, I don't know what the right answer is, but that feels like a very cool evolution of things. And to top it off, it's something that I've been encouraging Keegs, and sorry to put you on blast here, Keegs. Something that I've been encouraging Keegs to do is, I know he was a big fan of the AMA that we hosted with Dave, and both of you guys were there, kind of shopping through the pre-proposal for the mini set and addressing a lot of outstanding questions and feedback and concerns. If we could start hosting, and I've challenged Keegs to do this, start hosting, like the workshop commentary on these sort of workshop proposals, field all of the concern. AI does amazing things these days. Like, a lot of every single one of our episodes, I submitted an AI generated recap of the episode, the conversation. It bullet points everything. There's other stuff that I choose to exclude, but it's key takeaways, and it's bullet points for things to follow up with. AI can solve all of that stuff, and if we end up talking for 3 hours, so long as the people that are on this side of the platform are discussing what is being addressed in chat, all of that stuff is nicely summated. It's easily digestible. And, it seems like that's a really good way to kind of push that conversation forward, tick a lot of the boxes that somebody like Keegs is looking for. Yeah, it's just a matter of, can we get this sort of pre-proposal through at this point? We're right back to square one with proposing things with the current system. But I feel like it would be a big win for everybody.
And that's a good way to put it too. The evolution of the process, to Matt's point before, people want stability. These big investors, even smaller, mid-sized investors like myself, small investor. You're not looking for drastic change. You want the confidence of knowing that this whole system is not just going to be turned on its head and might end up failing as a result. You want that consistency and stability. But at the same time, something like this is simply it's kind of like a baby step in evolution. And one thing we've learned, I think, since the DAO has come into existence is we definitely need to adopt and change as the need arises. We've been learning. We've taken some kicks in the nuts too, but we're learning from them all. And that's the whole point, to move forward and to refine the process and make it a better process. What's it going to look like in 10 years? I don't want it to be the same. I don't want it to be completely different, but I want it to be a lot more streamlined. And I have confidence that it could be,
Yeah, totally agree. It's a trade-off. So we've had discussions before about, in more emergency dire situations where we see there's an exploit, there's an existential threat, there's something coming up that maybe we need mechanisms to skip the pre-proposal stage and just go straight to the, to the actual proposal, because this is an emergency. So on one hand, you've got this, we need to shorten this period and get stuff through real quick. And on the other, you've got the other voices saying, hey, let's really ruminate on things and give things a chance to really be discussed by everybody who's got a stake and an interest in this. So again, trade-offs all over. I think there are always going to be pitfalls to having one system for making any change that you can imagine and think of, right? From we should repossess Yabba's house, sell it, and use that to buy and burn SPS, right? That proposal is one proposal. There's another mechanism to change the color of the spear held by this specific card from red to a slightly different shade of red. That's also run through the same proposal process. And it's like we've got this process for any change you can imagine, including, like I say, the emergency, we need to fix this right now, or also the, hey guys, I was just wondering, what if we approach this ever so slightly differently? So having this one proposal process is, I think, almost a bit of an issue. And like you said, B. Jangles, the crowdfunding is an interesting idea where you say, hey, look, I'll put up 10,000. Let's all talk about it. And if enough other people put up the other 90, then we can crowdfund this proposal. The pitfalls then are, I might like his original version, and they'll say, I'm going to throw my 20k 20k DEC on top of that just to get the ball rolling and say, yes, I support this. And then as it goes on, the discussion goes on, it changes. Some aspect of it that I really like gets dropped, or some part that I don't gets added, and now I've supported a thing that I don't actually like the end result of. So part of the I think the joy of having one person post one proposal and put his own money up is to say, this is yes or no, right? I've done all the thinking in my head. And I think a lot of people think that groups can think, and groups can't think. All thinking is done inside one head. You can vote on things, but that's just individual thoughts being amalgamated, being amassed and counted and weighed. But you can't actually plug into. You can't say 100 people have thought this through, and here is the result. We can't land up our brains. Each decision is made inside one head. And so I think meetings are in general more about making sure that you're not personally held responsible if things go pear-shaped, but that you're there to claim a bit of credit if things go really well. I think in general, corporate structures, that's really the whole point of meetings is to get away from that ownership, to get away from that personal responsibility where you say, Gavin pushed this thing, Gavin really wanted this thing, and then it went bad, and so Gavin's to blame. Gavin says, hey, let's hold a meeting and we'll all kind of get to that result. And I'm diffusing the responsibility amongst the 20 people who are there at the meeting. And did you nod a little bit? I think you smiled when he said that thing. And it's all about diffusing responsibility. And I really come back to every decision, every choice is made inside one brain. And so there is something to be said for the way the current proposal system works. And again, it was designed as a series of trade-offs. Is 100,000 enough? Is it not too much? Is a week long enough? Is it not? And I like how it looks right now. I personally think that I would like to see more discussion, more public discussion before it goes up. But I kind of feel like that one owner, here's exactly how it looks, yes or no, it should be the tail end. It should be the tail end of a longer discussion, but I think that's how it should end, is one person saying, this is my proposal, this is the change that I want to see put through, and here's my money to make it happen. That's my thinking on it. But again, that might not be appropriate to every single kind of change. So like you said, Jimmy, it's going to look very, very different in 10 years' time. And I would like to think that we're learning from other projects too. That's something that Yabba really spends a lot of time on, is investigating what other projects are doing and just cherry picking the best parts of what others are doing, because we're inventing new stuff, right? Every day we're doing interesting things that nobody's done before.
Do you feel like, I mean, and Jimmy, we were definitely talking about, I think it must have been with Keys, just in general, it feels like the DAO, there are moments where I kind of put my foot in my mouth with this observation, but I feel like for the most part, the DAO, the community, those who do get involved in, it's politics at the end of the day. I don't think there's any way around that, but those that do choose to get involved in politics, the politics of pushing proposals through, I feel like we've matured to the point where, maybe it is time to, try and fine tune some of this stuff. Maybe it is time to, because by the way, I had no idea that you were mulling over such a proposal of repossessing Yabba's house and selling it for SPS, Matt. I mean, but the fact that sort of, very drastic, extreme, obviously polarizing proposal would go through the exact same system as adjusting the color of a spear, as you put it. That doesn't feel. It feels like there's something missing there. So I think there is room for the DAO at this point, because we have matured as a community, because we have, we've kind of come to terms with how this system operates, how things work. There was a long period of time where it felt like every single day you log in and there's 5 new proposals to look at, and there was a certain sense of fatigue. And at that point in time, everybody was saying, oh, maybe 100,000 DEC is not enough. We need to up the ante a little bit and curb some of this nonsense that's coming through the proposal system. And at that point, I would have had to say, yes, I agree. There's too much getting pushed through. You can't possibly stay on top of all of this. But for the most part, I feel like a lot of that has died down. And we've seen, guys like Vuctus and Tofu, they could very easily put their thumb on the scale and say, yeah, no, we're not tolerant of this sort of bullshit proposal that's getting pushed through here. So, the fact that these two extremes have to get funneled through the same system, I feel like speaks to the necessity of some breathing room with what do things look like going forward. So, yeah, Keeks, if you're out there listening, man, I hope you're continuing to kind of think through what this could and should look like, and I'm excited for it. It's all so it's all fun, right? And it's at the end of the day, Matt, you were talking a little bit off air of the game kind of being a fun byproduct of why you're here, and now you kind of get to really enjoy in your sunset years of Praetoria for now until we rope you back in somehow. And I do want to jump into Frontier at some point in this episode, but I would just say too, if there is a problem here to be fixed, I guess with the way the proposal system works at the moment, that can be resolved through culture. So I can see a situation where somebody downvotes a proposal and they say, look, I think it's a fairly good proposal, but there was no community consultation here. There was no, this is what I value is community consultation. There's 2 or 3 things that I'd like to have seen clarified or changed or fixed. And because you didn't, just because you didn't field it around enough, I'm gonna say no on this proposal. Feel free to post it and have a big discussion. We'll do it in Discord. We'll do it on Hive. And when everybody's had their say, then I might be able to see my way fit to voting yes for it. So in a way, what we've got is the community has voted for the way things are by
looking at a proposal and saying, well, I didn't have any input on this, but I like it, so yes. Right, so we're actually we've actually got, in a way, what the public wants, what the staked SPS holders want, is what they've supported now. The culture is what we've built, and if the culture is generally moving away from that and saying no, there should be more collaboration before a proposal is put up, then vote against proposals that don't have enough collaboration put up. You get what I'm saying? So it's if there is a problem to be fixed here, so. If the culture is moving in that direction, then absolutely. But I think as far as changing anything formal about how things work, I think that might be a bit of an uphill battle. But yeah, again, the passion of people like Keegs, and you say it's politics, but I see politics as how can I enrich myself and empower myself and look after my friends at the expense of the public. And I don't see anybody in this space acting like that whatsoever. All I see is good people that I like and trust, trying to build something great for the benefit of other people who haven't even arrived yet. So, when you say it's like politics, I'm like, hairs stand up on the back of my neck, and I think, no, that's don't don't love all the wonderful people here in with those people, because they're not us. They're very different to us. We're better than that.
Yeah,
if you're listening to me, you're better than that.
That's what they've become. We had a group of people who founded the United States of America who said, hey, this is what politics are. Same problem. Let's try to change that.
Yep.
And the experiment is still ongoing. Can we change that? But it is politics. You got to get the guys with the money, who equals the giant SPS holders, to be like, do you support my proposal or no? Or are you going to kill it? So
yeah,
it is politicking, unfortunately.
It is funny to think of the DAO turning tyrannical 400, 500 years from now. I don't know how that would look, but they look back at us as the founders and say, oh, what were those guys thinking? Couldn't they see how pear-shaped it was all going to go?
Damn it, Clay. Damn you, Clay.
Tearing down the bronze statues of us. Spray painting. Yeah, I don't know.
Putting mustaches on everybody. On all the statues.
Let's shift gears here, MC. So 50K manual battles. I want to know, has it?
Bam.
Yeah, major bam. Bam.
Explosions, fireworks, all types of fun stuff. That's does anyone have that beat? I don't think so.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I don't know if anybody else has done that.
Especially manually. Like never, ever, not one bot account has ever touched that thing. Huh? That's all you.
Oh, yeah, never. None of it's automated.
Any kids? No. Have kids played your account for fun?
They've helped. They've sat on my lap, and I've sort of helped with. I've got kids who are. I've got a 10-year-old, and I've got video footage of her opening alpha packs when she was.
I've seen that.
Yeah, like
I've
3.
Seen that. That's
and
amazing.
So it's so cute to see that and reminisce. But so there's been a few battles played by kids. I've got a nephew who opened a gold foil Bakjira, and he was stoked. He still mentions it every time I see him, because I get the nieces and nephews to open packs for me. But yeah, I wouldn't hand to heart say all 50,000 were necessarily me, but I was in the room when they were at least submitted.
Well, family counts. It's your genetics. We're making it happen. So yes.
Exactly. And I do. My wife played for a long time, for a while, but she's mostly on mobile. She sort of stopped when the mobile experience wasn't great, and I haven't sort of got her back in the saddle now that mobile's solid.
Is that her own account or?
Yeah. So I got Amanda Clarke, Henry Clarke, Fletcher Clarke, and Evelyn Clarke, and my alts. So I grabbed those in the first million accounts. I made sure that all of my family members had their own name within the first million Hive accounts, because I kind of feel like that's mine is one of the first 50,000 actually. MattClarke is for like 49,000 something, or 48,000, somewhere around that. And I think there's going to be some real bragging rights down the track for having a low number for your how long you've been around for.
Mm-hmm.
So I grabbed all of those.
That's stuff I never think about, Matt. And I always appreciate you kind of, bringing a fresh lens to this sort. Like you came for the decentralization piece. I came for the gameplay. Like the game is awesome. It's fun, and yeah, I always appreciate that fresh lens and perspective on stuff. And you're absolutely right. Like it's ultimately, when did you mint your account is that's value. That's cool.
Yeah, I love it. I think the potential for HBD to step in where fiat currencies are just rubbish in various different places around the world. Anywhere that it's bad, and they've still got the internet, the possibility for HBD is there. And I think you need to know how broken money is before you've got an appetite for adopting something that's not broken.
How intentionally broken it is too. Intentionally broken. It's not like, oh, it just didn't work out because we didn't see this guy. It's like, no, it's been set up to be a certain way. Does HBD have any relation or value comparison to USD? Like, is it supposed to be pegged to $1 like that? Or?
Yeah, it's algorithmically pegged to $1. Yeah, and so it's a debt instrument.
If the dollar tanks, like if let's say BRICS steps in and all of a sudden one day the dollar is not the U.S. or the global reserve currency, does that change the value of the HBD?
We can. The witnesses can peg it to whatever they like. So they could peg it to the price of gold. So 1 ounce of gold could be, however many HBD. So it is possible to change that if the USD did take a nosedive. And again, it is slowly taking a nosedive.
I'd say slowly for years, and now it's kind of speeding up.
Really accelerating.
Azarkan, if you're listening, I still want to still kind of bet you're willing to say that it happens within the next 5 years. He said not in our lifetime. I'm thinking, man. Historically, 100 to 150 years was when most global reserve currencies shift, pass the baton to the next one. And it's about where we're at with USD, and we are fast tracking the rest of the world saying, I don't know if I want this anymore.
Well, eventually the decision makers will become, their time preference shifts. Instead of being, I'm going to be in charge for a long time, it's I'm only going to be in charge of this sinking ship for a little time. Let's just grab everything I can, and that kind of accelerates the process. And then, like any Ponzi scheme collapsing, so much of its revenue goes to just maintaining the appearance of stability. So when it's completely white-anted and then just collapses into a pile of dust and there's no real substance there, people say, well, "What happened? What went on? I thought it was so stable and so solid." And so, I look at government, in general, and don't get me started. But there's a fella here in Victoria who the cops went round to see him, and it's unclear why, but they had some sort of a warrant, and there was 10 of them, and he shot 3 of them. 2 of them died. The other one ended up in hospital. He's going to be fine, but he's taken off into the forest, and that's where Ned Kelly was a long time ago. The bushranger was also having a problem with the same Victorian police, and so there's a lot of parallels being made between this guy and Ned Kelly and Rambo and that whole. I just wanted to be left alone because he was essentially at his house when they came around. But I think a lot of people have got that fear of the totalitarian, the state's going to come and destroy freedom and control our lives. And I look at this guy, and it's day 10 now. They still haven't found him. He's off it's snowing and the weather's terrible, but there's 450 cops out there looking for him. And the Army's joined in now too. Apparently the Navy's joined in today. I'm not sure why, but it's all inland. But I think, here in South Australia, the neighbouring state, there's SAPOL, the local police force, has 5,000. So if you generously said that only 10% of them are admin staff and paper pushers, and there's 4,500 active boots on the ground coppers here in SA, if it takes 450 of them to tyrannise one man, the most they can do is 10. Like there are 10 South Australians have to fear tyrannical government from our 4,500 serving South Australian police force. Everyone else of the 1.3 million people who live in South Australia will be fine. They'll continue to live their lives. So I think the illusion of the force, this thing is inevitable and you will obey, and the boot stamping on the human face forever, the Orwellian. I think a lot of it is a lot of that talk is really just self-reinforcing. It's just fear porn. what really are they going to do? And I've said this before. I'm literally looking at kangaroos. Like as we speak, I can see there's half a dozen kangaroos on an opposite hillside here. They're a long way off, but I can see that. I can literally. I can't turn the screen because they're just tiny dots. But I can literally see kangaroos on that hillside there, and I could just go and kill them. There's 2 people per square kilometre here in South Australia, so what are you going to do? There's a river over there. There's meat up on the hills. I'm going to be fine. And I think a lot of people just get into this mind space where they're, it's terrible and it's all going to come crashing down. They're going to run everything. Just let all that go. Let the fear go. Just live your life and make smart decisions.
Well, I always said Mad Max is coming. Bam. Yeah, that should strike. Wasn't Mad Max Australian? Didn't that take place under? Yeah. I think it's coming here. I've been saying that for years here. So kangaroos, 2 questions there. One, if I'm walking in the woods and I see like a deer, you're not worried about it, right? Even though in the course of my lifetime, the distance the deer maintain from the people has exponentially changed. It used to be like if you saw one or they saw you, boom, they're gone. Now I could walk up 10 feet, 20 feet from one, and it's just sitting there looking at you. Are kangaroos something to be concerned about? Like, do they come after humans at all? Or, I know they can be pretty tough.
Yeah, no, I get that it's confusing. So there's 2 different species, I guess, that there's cute little rock wallabies, but actual kangaroos, there's eastern greys, which is what you would normally see, and there's a place only 20 minutes away that you can just go and feed them. They'll come up to you. They're group around you. They're a bit sort of aggressive in grabbing the bag of feed because they all want it, but they're not going for you. They're just going for the food. They're like any ruminant or grazing mammal. But
if you're just hiking, you don't have to really worry if you see like 20 of them.
No, the wild ones, and I've been walking over there, and I'll walk around and I'll come around the corner and there'll be a mob of 100 kangaroos, and they'll sort of watch me for a while, and as I keep walking, they'll maintain their distance. But again, they're in a reasonably urban sort of setting. But
a flesh golem walking a flesh golem in the wild is something to be wary of. They know that.
Yes, yeah.
Last stand.
But there is also the West.
You pull out your llama card.
All the roos are just swarming me, and I'm like, let's do it. Self-heal, void. But there's also the Western red kangaroos, and they're bigger, and the males tend to be quite territorial. So that can get ugly. If you've ever seen footage of a fist fight between a man and a kangaroo, and the boxing kangaroo, the Hanna-Barbera cartoons and all that. Yeah, that's more the Western red. That's over that way, and they tend to be more aggressive, but they don't seek you out, right? Right. The big ones you got to watch out for are the cassowaries. They're some nasty tropical emu, but emu velociraptor hybrid. They'll hunt you down. You don't want to tangle with the cassowary.
All right, last kangaroo question. You mentioned you can just go bag one if you want, if you had to. Is the kangaroo meat A, delicious, B, legal?
Good question. I'm not sure about the legality of it. There is actually a guy who culls them. Galen KP is his name. He's a local, and he's on Hive, and he talks a lot about this. He got a long-range rifle. Talks a lot about ballistics and the like. Definitely worth a look. And he goes out culling. He's actually taken myself and my lad out there to the farm where he does it, and the farm owner has him out there to cull the kangaroos because they eat a lot of the feed that his cows and goats and chickens and livestock want. So but for humane reasons they need to be headshots, and he'll pick them off from a kilometre away. It's ridiculous. He's very, very good at what he does. So Galen KP, GALENKP on Hive, definitely worth a look. But he's so he points out that there are some legalities around it. But if it's the end of the world, nobody cares that I'm
that's different. Well, okay, then delicious.
Delicious, yeah, absolutely,
okay.
yeah. I'm doing the carnivore, and I'll often grab kangaroo. It's quite gamey and very, very lean. But the flavor's
sounds
there.
Like venison. It kind of sounds like venison out here, like deer sword. Yeah.
Yeah, any wild.
So can you get it like at a local butcher or in a grocery store out there?
Yep. Most grocery stores you could. There's a kangaroo section. It's not a big section, but it is there. I've tried emu and crocodile. They're a bit more niche. You can't sort of just generally get them at your local supermarket, but you find them from time to time at specialty places. But yeah, rue is quite commonly eaten in Australia, and it's good.
Right. Galen is one of he's Taraz's brother, if I'm
That's
not mistaken.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I've developed a bit of a camaraderie and friendship with Taraz. We run into each other on Modern Leaderboard pretty often.
Yeah.
But yeah, those guys, man, as far as Hive residents, top notch, man. Taraz, I think he mentioned to me the other day, I think he's posted daily for 7 years now.
It's ridiculous.
Whoa.
Like twice a day. Yeah.
Taraz
get a title.
Yeah. He should get a title. And it's not bullshit like, one-liner, one photo, here's my post. No, it's like very thoughtful, like well-written pieces, all manual. He prides himself on not using AI, and Galen does a lot of community challenges. Both of those guys, I think, are mods of their own respective communities on Hive. So if you guys are looking for a good place to write not Splinterland stuff, yeah, look out for what is it, Galen KP and Taraz KP?
Yeah, right? Taraz KP. They're both Aussies, but Taraz is in Finland, and Galen's here in SA. Yeah, great guys, and they're very responsive too. If you're commenting on their posts, a lot of authors just post it and then they just ignore it, but you'll always get the response and the follow up. So it does feel a lot more engaging. I really feel like in Australia, the e-safety commissioner has decided that under 16s can't go on social media from the 10th of December. And so anybody who wants to go on social media has to prove that they're not under 16 by proving basically who they are. And so it's just digital ID is coming for Australia. And again, just like you need to understand how money is broken before you can appreciate the value of decentralized alternatives like Bitcoin, like HBD. I think a lot of Australians are going to, when they go to log in and they're required to upload all sorts of identity documentation to get on Twitter, I think a lot of them then will say, oh, actually, this is really, really bad and I don't want to do this. And so I'm stuck now and I can't go on Twitter and I can't go on Facebook and the like. And that is when it's fertile soil for a decentralized alternative like Hive. And I've said to quite a lot of people, I've jumped on various different social medias now and said, hey, look, if you want to post and blog somewhere where no one can silence you or edit or delete, take it down, there's no decentralized alternative, because the Aussie government is saying, hey, Mark Zuckerberg, hey, Elon Musk, if you let Australians access your site, log into your site without identifying them, basically, without discerning that they're over 16, then we're going to fine you $50 million or whatever it is. But there's no one to fine on Hive. It's a decentralized blockchain. Where are you going to send the bill, right? Where are you going to send that fine to? But people don't have that appetite for it until it's taken away from them, until you don't have stable currency that you know is going to buy whatever tomorrow. Until that's taken away from you, you don't recognize the value of it and then embrace alternatives. So maybe Australia is going to become a new stomping ground for Hive. Maybe we're going to get a lot of adoption as people look for decentralized alternatives. Maybe it needs to get worse first. I don't know, but it's going to be an interesting journey.
Matt, I want to see you pilot the Hive rally car through the CBD in Melbourne, dude. Yeah, that's such an interesting choice from the Aussie government. That sort of widespread censorship. Running a school here, I put a lot of the onus on the parents, and I kind of feel like this is, what a shit show decision. Like, how are you going to enforce that at, the household level? I mean, you're talking about a manhunt with this many people, in search of one person hiding in the bush. All of a sudden, you got to, call it 1 million underagers, under 16-year-olds accessing Instagram or TikTok or whatever. How do you go out and, what does the enforcement look like? Give me a break, man.
Yeah.
What a waste of tax dollars, too.
No, exactly. And think of the flow-on effects, too. So say you've got somebody who's an Instagrammer, right? They got 10 million followers on Instagram, and they like to travel to exotic locations, and they like to upload footage of themselves. they're not going to come to Australia. They all talk to each other, so don't go to Australia. You've got to jump through so many hoops. You need to show your passport. You need to you need to upload all this. And if you want to remain and forget about it, right? You can go to Australia and you'll be in a black hole. You won't be able to look up other people's Instagram. You won't be able to log into the limitations this poses on even short-term travelers is just ridiculous. And I've seen no evidence from a tourism industry or body saying, hey, this is actually horrific for the Australian tourism industry. I guess, being the laughing stock of the world after the COVID silliness means that not a lot of people think that we're a good place to go to anyway, which makes sense. But it's the last nail in the coffin, I think, for the tourism industry. So there are a lot of flow-on effects that I don't know if they've been considered. I don't know if they're actually the real goal. And a lot of people say this is broken in a lot of fundamental ways, maybe deliberately so that they can say, look, here's what we wanted to do. It didn't work, so we're going to need to fix it and take an extra step of encroachment, go a little bit further. Look, the nation state's on the way out. It's collapsing under the weight of its own ridiculousness. It's like any other Ponzi scheme. It is on the way out. Technology is freeing us. And I really feel like this is the last dying, scrambling gasps of a collapsing empire. So, and I'm here for it, right? Let's rebuild. Let's remake the future. And I think guys like this fella who's he's shot a couple of cops. He has a problem with what they do and how they go about things, and he wants a future with fewer police. But I think if he had an alternative, like embracing decentralized, if he actually was aware of alternative ways to devote his life energy to, instead of killing them, maybe creating an environment where they're security guards now, right? Where there's no appetite for a centralized police force. It's all decentralized. And if you want to guard other people's property and secure their rights, go and be a private security guard. Right, so that's a lot better than just going out there shooting people. Right? Violence you'll never out-violence the government. That's ridiculous. But if you can embrace alternatives and build a decentralized world where 100 years from now those roles don't exist, well, that's not attacking somebody. That's just saying go and be a productive member of society instead of a leech.
When you said you feel like it's kind of the dying gasps here of a falling, crumbling empire, were you talking your country specifically, or more of a global
all around
situation?
All around. Yeah. So Javier Milei in Argentina is brilliant. The more he's winning, the more people are pointing to this and saying, hey, let's be like this, because Argentina is just going from strength to strength. We went from the bottom of the barrel to absolutely booming. You look at Nayib Bukele in El Salvador with his Bitcoin experiment is absolutely huge, locking up all the gangbangers. The turnaround in El Salvador is huge. So that contrast is what they hate, right? They don't want people to be able to see an alternative, what it can be like without them. So the more there's these examples going on, the better it is for human flourishing and freedom, because we can point to something and say, here's where people are free of you and they're doing really well. So I think it is collapsing. I think the Frank Zappa said something along the lines of, when the illusion becomes too expensive to maintain, they'll pull back the curtains and show you the bricks at the back of the theater and see it's all just been, a show, just a big pantomime in the first place. And I feel like the bricks are really starting to show. We're too aware of what's going on. Too many people are alert to it. The COVID silliness was a big wake-up call for a lot of people that these people don't actually care about me. It's the last. It really is the last dying gasp. And I've said this a lot, but I've thought about this stuff so much and read about it so much. There's somebody on Twitter made a really interesting point that armies don't take cities. They can't take cities. And so it's only a matter of time before some city somewhere decides that they're going to secede from the country they're in. Not previously possible because of things like the post and electricity supply and the telegraph. But now we've got satellites up in the sky. There's solar panels on every rooftop. Cities are actually becoming more and more self-sufficient and self-governing. So all we need anywhere in the world, is for a mayor to say, you know what, we're not part of this country anymore. We're a city-state again. And what's the army going to do? They're going to attack their own countrymen in that city? Right. So what happens then?
Happening here.
Right, but the logistics of attacking a city as well, even if you can convince the army to do it, right? The logistics of occupying a city is they'd much rather go around every time because it's, and so
Right.
I can see that happens one place and then it's going to start popping off all over the place, cities declaring themselves city-states instead of countries. There's so many different ways that this whole thing can go pear-shaped.
Oh, yeah. And there's been more and more talk about it out here, too, in different parts of the United States. And, the discussion is, it's kind of called soft secession, where you say, we're going to just stop giving our money to the government who's spending it on things we don't agree with.
Yeah.
We don't want endless war. We don't want all of our tax dollars going to killing other people in other places, We want things like healthcare. We want things like, just basic things like that. And
it's both sides. The left are, sanctuary cities and the like, where that again is secession, right? It's saying this city is going to be a safe place for the, I'm not sure what you call them now. Illegal aliens, foreigners, immigrants. So that's the left and the right are finding reasons that they want to secede. So, look, I really
that's
hope
one place out here. I mean, in the U.S., left and right are both very much, anti-war, and the way that some people are America first. It's like spend money here, stop giving money to all these other countries. But both sides are anti-war. The people on both sides of the coin are anti-war, and the talk is just more and more about we're just not going to give money to fund these. And if everyone stops paying the government, what happens? It would collapse, I would imagine.
Yeah. And if we use currencies they can't print endlessly, then again, the whole thing just collapses into its own footprint and goes away. And this doesn't need to be violent. I think there's been too many revolutions and civil wars. We've lost our appetite for it. I think there's room for everybody in the world that's coming.
Fill it with money or lack of. Yeah, why not?
It's a good thing. And I love the fact that there are alternatives. I could see 10 years ago, a lot of people like myself going down the road of this fella who gunned down these cops, and whether it was self-defense or an ambush or whatever you want to call it, there would have been a lot of people who unaware of alternatives, unaware of ways to devote their creative and productive energies toward building decentralized alternatives. Those people say, well, instead I'm going to build bunkers. Instead I'm going to build booby traps. I'm going to, I'm going to harass the state that way. And it's an unproductive, but if that's your only option, if that's your only alternative, then I can see why somebody like that would go down that path. But me personally, I'm like, no, there are alternatives. There's no need to get violent. We can just build them out of existence.
Bring it to the Splinterlands arena. Let's settle this like men. Come on. Bam.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Jangles, you want to talk about frontier mode, I think, right? We got all heavy there for a minute. Woo.
Yeah, I was trying to think of a natural segue. I don't know if there is one. So maybe it's just
Splinterlands. Just say it.
There it is. There's the segue.
Left turn.
Back on topic, boys.
Come on. What's that meme with the car just racing off the highway with the smoke and it's
the exit now.
Right on
Splinterlands.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, all this stuff is super fascinating, and I'm in a bit of a strange place being in Taiwan, kind of waiting to see what's going on.
Yeah. Are you learning
Motherland? Looking back at home.
Yet?
Huh?
You learning your Mandarin yet?
Oh, I got my
for
Mandarin.
When it's necessary.
Oh,
yeah, you speak Mandarin?
Yeah.
Damn. Let's hear some, Jimmy.
I'm not dropping any Chinese. But I could tell you a joke, but we're not going to do that. But yeah, it's interesting watching what's going on in China, and everyone's kind of, some folks are waiting with bated breath. Some folks are just saying, it's actually not going to change that much. The precedent's already there with Hong Kong. Folks are speculating on violent takeover versus, exactly what you were just alluding to with, occupying a city. That would be at complete scale with a massive moat between us and China. So, I mean, I don't know. And then all of the unrest that's developing back home, I don't really know what my next 10 years looks like or where I'll be, or we're just trying to live our lives one day at a time out here and see what's going on. I mean, I think I have found a lot of good community here in Splinterlands and by extension Hive, and I think that has opened my eyes to a lot of possibility. I look at guys like Blaze. Shout out to Blaze. He's denounced his American citizenship, occupied a Portuguese passport for himself, and he's on an island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Like, good for him. It's awesome. He told me he was in traffic the other day. It was like, what, 3-car traffic jam? He said, yeah.
There was a car in front of him at the stop sign.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I want, man. Like, I mean, ultimately, I just want peace and the ability to live my life the way I want to live my life. And
yeah, for sure. And you want a good future for your kids as well. That's the other. The other part of it, what does the world look like down the track? I heard a stat that if nothing changes in South Korea, 50 years from now, their population will be a quarter of what it is now because of birth rates collapsing around the world. So is China really going to expand into Taiwan, considering that they're losing people hand over fist? If you can't fill your own massive apartment buildings in China, then why are you even eyeing off Taiwan? I get that there's a lot of chip manufacturing,
like legacy ownership.
Yeah, strategic.
Yeah, but how much of it is a legitimate threat, and how much of it is people overselling the threat so they can sell weapons, right? That's the other. There's always an angle there, right?
I mean, ultimately, the prize in Taiwan is the semiconductor industry, 100%. And I think about things, companies like TSMC, Honghai, and Foxconn, I think is the English name. Yeah, we don't need to dive into all of that, but it's going to be really fascinating to see how this stuff pans out with, respect to how does China eventually, if they do pull the trigger, what does that look like? The more we, there's a couple folks that will message me on Discord from time to time and say, oh, there's all sorts of warships occupying the Taiwan-China Strait, and are you ready? Yeah, no, I don't even pay attention to that stuff. I don't even pay attention to that stuff. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. It's all about, securing that peaceful and prosperous freedom for me and mine. And I think that's what this world has pushed us to. The community will end up fighting itself, and there will be others like me that are looking to build a similar, present and future. So
I'm really optimistic about the future. I'll be honest with you guys. I really feel like we've the governments of the world have jumped the shark, and the future looks a whole lot brighter for pretty much everybody who's just a peaceful, productive person. So don't do dumb crap like this guy in Victoria. Don't go shooting people. Don't go. Just sit and wait. We're a few years away from just everything getting better.
Well, I appreciate the optimism. I surely hope so. We are certainly entering a new frontier. Bam, frontier mode.
Bam, frontier mode. Formerly known as basic mode.
Formerly known as basic mode. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. So
dodging the
bullet. Frontier mode, man. I have been thoroughly enjoying myself with Frontier mode. It's Matt, I know that we were talking a little bit off air, and yes, you have retired from competitive gameplay from the likes of Modern and Wild.
Bullshit. I don't believe it. I'm gonna see. There's gonna be a 50,001 on there before we even know what's going on.
Well, I was thinking about it.
0.9%, man. You gotta keep going, dude.
If there's 50,001, there's gonna be 60,000. I think that's just how you're wired, Matt. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you play one more, you're playing 10,000 more.
Yes, it's like cigarettes. If I have one, I'll be buying a packet. I gave those away 12 years ago, so no, 14 now. But yeah, I smoked a lot back in my younger days.
Now is it just chewing tobacco? Is that your thing now?
No, I did try snuff once. There's a rugby team. I was hanging out with them in Adelaide, and one of the guys had snuff, which was just a snorting nicotine
snorting tobacco,
thing.
basically.
Yeah. I tried that.
I did that in high school. It freaking was brutal, man. Holy crap! It's like I liked it, and I thought it's probably good that you can't get it here. I mean, you can't get much here, but. So anyway, smoking's gone, but yeah, the frontier mode is where it's at. I'll jump in and I love just getting the chests and all of that. And it was a bit sad spending my last glint the other day,
and I need to get these legendaries, and I need to max out these. And then I thought, I'm not gonna, like, these are soul-bound cards, and I'm not really going to put them on land. So, do I need to max out that legendary? Just trying to get my head around how does my life look if I'm not logging in and playing Wild every day. But I need to not just focus on other things in life, but also I need to be better at being the DAO chairman. I think that's more important. That's more valuable to the community, that I'm reading proposals and thinking about things and having discussions and conversations with people rather than just being one of the guys battling. And this is the thing with business owners, that they get to the point where they're still on the front line serving customers, and that's less valuable to them and to the business than to actually stand back and say, no, I'm going to delegate some of this stuff and other people can do that. And I'll be the guy who spends his time strategizing and networking and building. So that's my focus at the moment, is to say, look, it was a great time. I enjoyed it a lot. There were names that beat me over and over again, and then I'd beat them just once, and I'd live on that high for 24, 48 hours. Yes, I took him down. Finally.
Yeah, shout out to Jacek. I've heard you share that story of the old school tourneys taking down Jacek.
Beating him twice.
That's a proud moment.
Yeah, that was more valuable than winning the Alpha tournament. And I'm not in any way saying that I'm that even on that day I was better than Jacek. He was just a machine, but just the RNG won it for me both times. But look, I got fond memories of it, but I really feel like we're going to get big, and I need to be across the details. I need to better understand, how does HBD work? What is the mechanisms of that? I need to do deep dives on all of the relevant Hive architecture and how all that works, the tokenomics, understand better why Yabba makes the decisions that he does. I really feel like now is the time for me to be more valuable to the DAO and to the community, not by being the guy that just, I might try this here, and focusing my attention on, is this another opportunity to use Exploding Dwarf? Yes, it is. And whether I win or not, at least I used him.
It always is. Yes. Yes.
Equalizer.
One of my favorite cards ever. Yes.
Equalizer is my first thought. Yeah.
Just fucking bam, bam, trample, bam.
Oh, let's go. And then when they retaliate, and then he retaliates, and they get blast damage to all of their allies. And they go, if only he hadn't retaliated, I'd be in a better position now, because he's just, So
staple in Health Equalizer. He's a staple in Health Equalizer. That's when you're like, okay, Exploding Dwarf, here we go.
Exactly. And now it's Continuum Seer. Jacek and Continuum Seer is just brutal. Especially in Equalizer. Give her a bit of armor, maybe some repair, and nobody's hitting her. It's just backfire. But again, as much as I love that, I should be instead blogging. I've got the Chair account. If anyone's watching and doesn't currently follow the Chair, I created an account on Hive for whoever is the DAO chairman. So consistency there. I won't take any of the funds that I earn from posting. I'll just power it up and let that be the next guy's thing. But if I get hit by the bus, I want there to be a continual. So the other foundation members have the keys to that account, so if for whatever reason we get a new chairman in, they will be the owner of the Chair account and post from there. So that I feel is more what I should be doing. And if things get big and CNN says, can you go into detail on how HBD works and the debt haircut and the like, then that's something I should be straight on, because they're not going to ask me, what rule set does Exploding Dwarf work best in.
But you will volunteer that information.
But I need to be ready with an answer for whatever can come about, right? That really is. This is the DAO chairman role. Is the community has said we like this guy, and a big part of it is I get my face out there, I get my name out there, I'm operating under my real name, and there's a lot of heavy hitters that get things better. I'm thinking of Crypto Eater, for example. He understands the ecosystem better than I do. He understands tokenomics and crypto better than I do. He's an absolute machine, but no one knows what he looks like. No one knows his name. No one knows his face. He can't go on a podcast and talk and be himself and be a public spokesman because of that, which is fine. It takes all types, and I got a lot of time and affection for Crypto Eater. But it means that the chairman role ended up with somebody like me, and I really feel that push that I don't want to I don't want the game to get big and then find that the community decides that they made a poor decision in choosing me as their spokesman, because when push came to shove, somebody asked me a question and I didn't have a really good answer ready to provide. So that's sort of what's prompted me to stop battling and really just dig deep on all of this stuff. So whatever comes up, I can do a good job of what the community's entrusted me to do. That's what matters.
I would almost think that like the art of war, if you continue to battle, you will just refine your skills and everything else.
So Jimmy told me as soon as I let him know that we had queued you up for the next episode, I shared your blog article, retirement. Jimmy took it upon himself to. I'm going to single-handedly convince Matt that retiring is the wrong choice. I expected Jimmy to lather it on, and here it is. It's great.
Yeah, that's fun. Well, look, like I say, I am playing Frontier. I'm keeping I'm dabbling, but I do want to prioritize land, but also it's really been weighing on me recently, the DAO chair, and that's part of the promotion that I'm running. If you're not across that, have a look at the Chairman's Bounties channel in Discord. Here it is. Fonak, the Chairman's Bounty channel. I'm taking out bounties on people. So I'm saying if you take this guy down with this specific person in this specific rule set, or with this card, or with these parameters, then I'll delegate you 50,000 SPS for 50 days, which is quite a lot. It can transform things for a newer player, get a real good start, get a bit of early traction. No one's claimed a bounty yet. I think I've got like 12, 13, 14 up. It's interesting balancing act, actually, because I want to get 100 bounties out by the end of the year. But if people don't start claiming them soon, I'm going to have a bit of a bottleneck, because 100 bounties at 50k for that's 5 million, and I don't have 5 million, so I need to stagger them out. I need to space them out so that I don't have any more than what's that, 20 or 30? No, I can do 50. I can do 50 at a time. So yeah, by all means, get in there before you have a bit of a session playing in Modern. Go and have a look in the Chairman's Bounty channel. Anyone that you come up across, have a look at the bounties there. If you come across that person in Modern Battle, then have a quick flip back over to Discord, check the win conditions, and see if you can actually take them out that way. And those who I've taken out bounties on, B Jangles, you've got one on you there. What's your bounty? I think it's beat you
under 4 rounds.
Under 4 rounds. So he knows now, so there's this extra layer now. He knows that there's a good chance that anyone coming up against him, and I don't know if you've found this since I posted the bounty, but anyone coming up against him, there's a good chance that they're going to try and hit him hard and fast and not do my favorite strategy, which I know you hate, which is, the Llama Cube mentality, where you just hunker down, self-heal. Yeah. So I custom made that one for you, mate, because I know how much you hate the other. So this should improve your gameplay. Because everybody's just coming at you hard and fast to knock you down quick.
And keep in mind, I saw that Jangle said if he got a bounty, he would delegate his SPS to, or asked if he could delegate his SPS to like a scholar or a different player. Yes, absolutely. These bounties are transferable, so you can use it to, all you veteran players, you can benefit a newbie if you want to claim one of these bounties here. So.
Absolutely. So I'm keeping my eye out on the leaderboards. I'm looking for new targets for bounties. I'm looking for, if you have a suggestion for a win condition, a fun new win condition I haven't explored yet, that's great. Fire it up, and let's just have some fun with it, right?
I love the whole concept, man, and shout out to Eagle for setting up the Discord channel for you.
Yes.
Yeah, very, very cool. I would love to see this stuff available in game. I mean, I realize that's way down the track, but if I could, if I could, I could put a game wide notification, maybe pay 10k DEC, and say anybody who tracks and beats MattClarke, I will delegate XYZ SPS for the rest of the season.
Well, it could come up on the battle screen. Come up on the battle screen. There's a bounty on this guy. If you beat him with these parameters, you'll get a bounty from this.
Yeah, like specialized. Like if all of a sudden you find yourself facing Bojangles, a little notification says bounty
it'll pop up.
notice, kind of like the old
Yeah,
Star Wars with the cube.
No pressure.
Little hologram.
No pressure.
Little hologram comes up with Jangle's face rotating around and the price under it and the battle parameters.
Wanted dead or alive. Yeah. Beautiful.
Dead or alive.
Yeah, we can go there. I have had one target has DM'd me and said somebody beat me and actually met the win conditions, but they either don't know or they're not aware, and so they haven't claimed the bounty because they're not across it. So yeah, there's somebody out there who could very easily, with just a couple of clicks in Discord, get themselves the delegation because they have met the win conditions, but I guess you need to be across it, and that's what you were saying before.
You want to tell us who it is? Do you want to tell us who it is? No. Oh, okay. Because it's tough, man. The Hive thing is kind of hard. Like I noticed, this is an example. Happened today. I was just going through stuff. I noticed I hadn't gotten paid out from the SPS PKM pool, Peak Monsters SPS pool, in a week or two. I was like, oh, interesting. What's going on there? So I shoot a message to Jarvie, and he's like, yeah, we did a post on that. We stopped it at like this point. And I'm like, I just don't see all of these posts. You know what I mean? It's like so much is done as like, it's posted on Hive, so it's an official thing. But I don't see, I'd say 90% of posts that are done, that are relevant, that I should see, unless you go, dig it up. It's hard to come across. And this is where the in-game, somehow linking Hive in-game to like either whitelisted accounts or something, man. Like, yeah, I would love to see that. Like even like PKM, perfect example. We know they build an incredible third-party site. It helps our ecosystem big time. It would be amazing for people to, somehow link it officially in the site. Say, oh, here's what PKM is posting, through the Splinterlands website, and then you could, it helps with proposals, everything. It's
yeah, for sure. And people just don't know that these conversations are happening. Like you say, with Discord and with Hive, they just arrived, they've played the game without being told. And it's difficult because, Splinterlands doesn't want to point necessarily to a specific direction because that could be seen as an endorsement. But the Peak Monsters guys are fantastic. Time and time again, Jarvie's been, approachable and enthusiastic for years. And Asgarth, the Splinterlands will roll out some change. And before you know it, just bam, Asgarth's already coded it up and Peak Monsters is already up and running and ready and changed and adapted.
Oh, yeah,
so,
yeah.
Huge shout out to those guys. They've been a massive asset to the community.
They've been huge. Oh, yeah. There's been like once or twice I found a bug and like Asgarth is just like bam, within like a half hour, he's like fixed. Thanks for reporting it. I also love that they still refer to the cards as summoners. Yeah, bam,
and monsters. Yeah. What if it's like so? We've heard the call for kind of a news feed on Splinterlands.com. What if it was custom curated? Like here's a list of 100 different quote unquote influencers, whether it's on Hive or on YouTube or on Twitter. And I can select my top 10. So anytime Splinterlands 101 publishes an article or a podcast, I can pin that account on my feed. So then you'd get away from Splinterlands kind of dictating what goes in the funnel, and more like the People's Guild will get whitelisted to be on this list, but then any user could choose whether or not to see said news item.
Yeah, that could work. Even more, there might be capacity for, and again, it's open to abuse. So that's the problem. It's like with the avatars, right? If we let people upload images, then they're going to upload inappropriate images, and then
well, that's the thing. Whitelisted and proven. Like we know Peak Monsters is solid. Yeah. We're pretty sure Jangles and the People Guild is okay. We're almost
that's
almost
what we
positive.
Want you to think. That's what we want you to think.
But I was almost thinking more.
You don't just let anyone do it. You definitely have to be whitelisted. You definitely have to have proven. With a history of.
And that's where I was thinking. Even after a battle results screen, where you see you've fought somebody, there could even be room under their name to say this person wants to draw your attention to this, right? So I might put the Splinterlands 101 podcast and say, hey, this is where you can find us. If you want to see the guy that you just beat in Frontier mode, you can click this link and find us on YouTube, for example. But again, it's if you make it open for everybody, there's potential for abuse. But like you say, whitelisting is definitely a possibility. I do think the recent Twitch promotion, go to Twitch and watch enough hours of Splinterlands streamers, and you'll earn this card. That's been huge. A lot of people are doing it. It's benefiting us in a lot of different ways. And that is one way that the game has really said, hey, let's go and alert people to the fact that there are people streaming this gameplay. You can look at faces and you can see somebody who's actually, a real life human being somewhere in the world where they've got a fancy accent and they're playing the same game that you are. So I think if there's more along those lines, if there's more collaborations like that where Splinterland says, there's a new card available for people who watch this amount, then that's definitely heading in the right direction. But it is so easy to miss those conversations because they're happening everywhere. And is that a problem that we want to fix? I don't know. I guess if you're curious enough and click around enough, you'll find all sorts of different things that and that might be part of the joy of the discovery of the game. Instead of having it all given to you to say go here, go here, go here. You're sort of more exploring and discovering yourself.
I would say it would have more. It would be quite beneficial to building and expanding the community.
Yeah,
we definitely need some in-game type of thing.
Yeah,
they're talking about the chat coming, and no, go ahead.
No, it's so difficult for being someone who's been around for so very long to get myself in the mindset of somebody who's just arrived. Right, that's where I almost feel like, once a month we need to invite some tester in to say, here's this game you know nothing about, go, and then quiz him afterwards and say, well, how did you feel about all sorts of different things? Where were you following the conversations? Because for me, I live on Discord. I've been using my work computer forever, and they went and locked the security guys went and locked everything down, like right down, so I can't get MetaMask, can't get Keychain, so I just had to go out and get myself a new laptop.
I heard you bought the new laptop for the sake of TPG, MattClarke. That's what
yes, yeah, of course, yeah. Get the video quality right up there.
Yeah.
I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille. Get the webcam, but
speaking of close-ups, I do have to say. You've got a kick-ass beard and mustache. Because your golden blonde hair might make it hard to see. Is your mustache separate? Like, is it not quite connected, or is it just blonde right there?
No, there's been no real cultivation. This is just what grows out of my face. So I haven't actually. Yeah, there's a.
So is that a separate mustache, or is it connected? It's hard to tell.
No, there. I think it's pretty much. I don't know.
I call it a mustache. That's a mustache. I see a little flesh there in between there.
There.
All right.
The whiter my hair gets, the more obvious it is that I have a beard. It's when my skin and hair matched color, it was very, very difficult. So now I'm getting grey and old. I can sort of pull off the grey beard. So yeah, it's what are we talking about?
Mustaches.
New people. We need that new person's perspective. Where are the conversations happening? Are they even happening? Like you said, B Jangles, it was, you were here for a while before you even realized that there was a Discord thing, that people are talking over there. I get that the game has to safeguard itself from all sorts of different legal and even cultural issues and problems with people just uploading inappropriate things. So and this is again, this is where we're doing new stuff. This is Web3 meeting up against legacy, and where people doing this, exploring new ground. We're doing this for the first time. This is not a closed set. There's a lot of capacity for people to arrive with their own preferences and their own ethics, and we need to explore that. And I think we're doing a great job of exploring that.
Agreed. So I want to shift gears back to your. The main reason why you feel compelled to wheel away from playing battles and further embracing and digging in on your position as chairman of the DAO. Have you started to think through, does this mean more regular public appearances? Does this change your relationship with the 101 guys? Are we going to get a MattClarke podcast, the chair podcast? What are you thinking in terms of, how, aside from additional articles, are you thinking anything further around making yourself more readily available and public?
Yeah, I think it's more just about availability. I don't sort of see myself as like a marketing arm for the game, but more an available voice and face for the community. And so, like I said, I'm doing the carnivore stuff. I want to lose weight, right? If I'm on video representing the game, then I don't want to have, like I said, during COVID, careful shaving, lads. Your isolation beard might be hiding an isolation chin. I want to represent this community well, right? I want to know what I'm talking about. I want to look the part. I don't want to be just phoning it in, and I'm really feeling the weight of that responsibility. So there's nothing specific beyond the promotion that I'm running at the moment. Like I say, get that delegation, get amongst it, not wanting to pull the ladder up behind myself and say, yeah, I'm good now. So, you're all on your own. I really want to support the community, but I want to know what I'm talking about. I wake up in a cold sweat thinking somebody's going to ask me something and there's going to be a huge audience and I'm going to be repping our entire community and I'm not going to have a ready answer. And I don't like that feeling at all. I want to live up to the trust that's been placed in me by people that I've known for years. Some of my closest friends, yourselves included, I consider really, really close friends because we're all part of this community that's been such a big part of our lives. I don't want to let you guys down. I don't want to let anybody down. So I'm haunted by the idea of not having a ready answer. So I really want to focus on educating myself and following along, like the conversations on Hive. What's going on with Hive? What's the vibe? What direction are we going? Is HBD going to be coupled to the gold instead of the dollar? Are we going to go from the 15% interest back up to 20 or down to 10? Like I kind of want to be on top of all of that stuff. So I'll continue to Splinterlands 101. I think there's benefit to just continuing to do what you've always done. I might talk to Bob and Gio and say, is there different ways that we want to look at the way the show's formatted? Do we want to go with fewer battles, more chat, more guests? Do we want to have 3 guests on at the same time? The idea is that we're in flux, but I do like having those regular weekly appearances, and I know some people they'll listen in the car. It's just part of their day, part of their week. So I'll continue with that. But it's for me, it's more about spending my time researching and knowing stuff, just knowing.
Awesome. Well, Matt, I know you do take the role very seriously, and the fact that you're questioning these things, and I mean, you've gone to the extent of, I can't imagine that carnivore is, or the reason for embracing carnivore is solely locked into being an even sexier face on the other side of representing the DAO. By the way, I've clued into carnivore a little bit over the years, and Ghostly BG, he's a full on carnivore for like 10 years now.
I mean, like no greens at all, just meat.
It's meat and fat. Yeah,
nothing but meat. Like meat Twinkies and just like nothing but
meat Twinkies.
One of the Hive witnesses, Luke Stokes, he's been talking about it a lot on Hive and on Facebook. So he was part of my, I guess, inspiration to do it. But I'm 6 days a week. I'll do carnivore, and then on Saturdays it's just a free for all, and that's when I drink my red wine and eat the chocolates I've been eyeing off all week. I think the idea of being indefinitely carnivore would not work for me because it's just too much about deprivation, too much about monotony, and so for me, I'll look at a packet of chocolate biscuits and I'll say, oh, you know what, if they're still there, if the kids haven't eaten them by Saturday, I've only got to wait 5 days, and then I can treat myself to some of those chocolate biscuits, or I got my wine there. You know what? Saturday night, I'm gonna have a drink and enjoy myself. I can delay gratification for 5 or 6 days. That's not a problem. So for me, it's been really good. I've probably dropped about 15 kilos, I reckon, since the start of the year. Nice. Slow and steady wins the race, I had plenty to drop in the first place, but I'm feeling more energetic, and I definitely, I think the idea of carnivore is that the animal eats the plant for you and grabs the nutrients and then packages it in a way that your body's better at digesting. Some people are saying plants are actually trying to defend themselves, and there's problems with eating them directly. You're better off filtering them through animals first. I'm not a nutritionist, but I do know that there's plenty of experts constantly lying to all of us all the time. So I hold a lot of things in very, very lightly when the experts say this is what you should do. So I'm happy to run the experiment. So far, it's working really well for me. I'm not finding it's too monotonous. I bacon and eggs for breakfast in the morning, or sausage and eggs, and I'll just have a meatloaf, or again some sausages. As long as it's less than 5% carbs on the packet, I'll just eat that, and it's going well.
The logic, I don't know much on a nutritionist either, but the logic makes sense of prioritizing ruminant meat so that those greens have been processed, and the best of the nutrients have been reabsorbed into the red meat that you're then consuming. But yeah, Ghostly has had huge success. Like all of a sudden he went from couch to he just recently ran, I want to say it was an ultra marathon, 100K. And dude is consistently out on the trails. And but what I was going to say is, as I was kind of like looking into the carnivore stuff, I ran across quite a few YouTube channels based in Australia that have fully embraced it. So cool, man. But I'd love to see the how you kind of proceed with your next couple of public moves as far as making yourself more available. And I think I am an avid listener of 101. I listen every week. I tune in whenever I can. But yeah, man, I love the passion and the degree of seriousness to which you're taking this position. And I'm fortunate enough to have been elected to, or voted in to participate on this thing with you and Clay and Dave and an impending nod for Dwayne for Infidel. And yeah, I mean, it's been an absolute pleasure, like watching the way that you guys operate and think through this stuff. And if I'm gonna stroke your ego a little bit here, MC, if you're ever second guessing your ability or your integrity to perform in this position at a high level, like, man, I couldn't think of a more perfect person to fit for the role, dude. Like, especially coming from the history that you've got with Hive and Steam It, and seeing how that experiment had panned out and has since panned out since the fork. And you just bring a lot of, you and Clay both have the wisdom of this experience, having watched this experiment, kind of unfold over the 7 years prior. And I look forward to seeing how you move forward with this thing, man. It's an exciting, as sad as I am to hear you say, I'll be the first to, I think you were mulling retirement at 40K battles, and I'll put a feather in my cap and say, maybe I talked enough shit to get you right 50, back on. I will take all that credit all day long. At this point, you've been talking about your retirement kind of looming ever since then. So an additional 10K battles, that's not insignificant. It was a couple of years of your time going into the battles. And so at this point, like I said, man, I'm excited to see what's next for you and for the chair. And especially at the start of this conversation, talking about how do we increase transparency and availability and make these things accessible. I think the education piece is one that we as a community, maybe in our respective circles, we feel like the education piece is satisfied, and everybody who's coming across these proposals understands and can have give their own due diligence to providing informed input. But when we start looking outside of our circles, I feel like there's a lot of questions and comments and feedback that I see that ultimately begs to question, is there the necessary understanding to provide, said input that whichever individual is offering? And I think most of the time the answer is probably not. So it's not a small task that you're attempting to take on here. But yeah, man, I couldn't think of a better person for the role. You're the man.
Thank you, bud. I really appreciate that. That's great. And it does weigh heavily on me, but I also recognize that. I have been around for a while. I do have the trust of most of the community, those who've been around for a while. So I'm not not weighed down by it, but I definitely feel it. And look, if I could pick a role in this community, it would be this one. I'm not technically proficient, but I do love demystifying things. So since I understood Bitcoin many, many moons ago, 2013, when there were days there where I barely slept. I would read about Bitcoin and how it worked, and then I would go to sleep for about 5 hours, and then I would jolt awake and go sit at the computer and read about Bitcoin some more. It was transformational, a real road to Damascus sort of experience for me. And since then, there's always been a part of my mind that's just mulling over, how can I make it make sense to people? How can I demystify this? How can I take this complex concept and communicate that to people that don't yet get it? Because I've got that faith and that trust that if they're curious and genuine, I can bring them to that place, right? I can make it accessible. And so I do feel like I am naturally well positioned for this role, in that if somebody needs to talk to somebody from the community and say, hey, make all this make sense to me, I like that it's me that's sitting there saying, yes, this is how it all works. But I want to do it well, and I think about it a lot.
It shows.
Yeah. Don't be waking up in cold sweats, Jimmy. I think that if
That's
it
like
ever came
carnivore
to
sweats.
you could meat sweats. I got the meat sweats. Ask me a question: is hot dog a real meat? I don't know. Oh my god, I don't know what to do. No, I think you could either answer perfectly or bullshit your way enough that it sounds like a good answer.
Now we're circling back to politics.
Well, yeah, it's a political role, you know.
It's funny though. While you're asking about kangaroos, I got to ask, a couple of Americans: is it really, I see stuff with. I'm thinking of Great Outdoors. I don't know if you remember that movie, The Great Outdoors.
Oh hell yeah! What was the name?
The
of
old
that
96er. He's got to eat the old 96er. On the Betamax, I watched that over and over again. It's
on the Betamax. Do you guys have Betamax down there?
Yeah.
Oh my god! Betamax is superior to VHS. We all know
there's
that.
Nothing on that. There's nothing left on that plate but gristle and fat. It's like, off you go.
Yeah.
All right.
And he had the meat sweats.
Yeah, the meat sweats. And I'm thinking there was a Simpsons episode too where there's a trucker who dies trying to eat a big steak, and Homer.
Yes.
And is that a thing? Like we don't really do that here. Is that I know there's eating competitions where it's competitive, how many hot dogs and the like. But do you often see restaurants where there's like, if you can eat this whole thing, then your meal's free? Is that a real thing, or is it just Hollywood?
I've never seen it. I traveled around for about 6 years in a band. We hit like 42 states, all over the place. That doesn't mean I've seen everything, because I haven't, but I never saw that. I never ran into a place where it was like, eat a giant steak and it's free. I'm sure there has to be. Or maybe there was and it's not anymore. Who knows, man? But I've never seen it. Personally, never seen it. And I've been around the country.
I kind of feel like middle of nowhere Texas is where you would probably be likely to find, it's an attraction in and of itself. Eat the 5-pound steak or whatever, and it's free. Otherwise, you're on the hook for the old 96er. I have never personally run across one of these food challenges at a restaurant, but
actually,
I'm sure they exist.
I did come across a heat challenge. I was on the road with a different band, and we came across a sushi bar, and they had a challenge: if you can eat our spicy roll, it's free. You have to eat the whole thing.
Wow.
And I was like, hell yeah. I'm excited. I'm a chili head. I love the pepper sweats, man. That's the best. When your eyes are sweating. It's just, it's amazing. It's
Did
amazing.
you eat it?
And apparently oh, hell yeah, man. And it was great because they brought it out. And I look up, and we're kind of near the kitchen, and there was like 6 dudes like in the kitchen window, like all the cooks were, or the sushi chefs. They were all just like in the window watching and stuff. And yeah, it was hot, but no problem, man. I put that whole thing down.
Free.
Nice. So yes, that was an eating challenge. It wasn't quantity, but it was heat.
Yeah.
So yes, that is out there.
I think it's so funny only knowing America from TV shows and movies. I've always thought I'd love to do a tour of the US, but an alcohol tour where not getting drunk, but
yeah.
like a bourbon in Kentucky, whiskey in Tennessee, all of those.
There's
Corona.
there's some amazing places now, man. Even out here, we just played I played at a distillery this weekend called Young and Yonder. It's up in Healdsburg. They make some incredible spirits. I mean, their whiskey is amazing. Their gin is amazing, 100 proof gin, but freaking delicious. They have an absinthe at 120 proof that's out too. Craft spirits, and that's a thing. Like especially here in California, they're all over the place. There's incredible breweries. There's incredible wineries. Distilleries are becoming more and more popular, and of course by region, as you say, go down to Kentucky for the bourbon.
Manhattan in Manhattan.
Yes, exactly, man.
Long Island iced tea on Long Island.
Yeah, exactly. Have a mint julep down south somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Just try all the different stuff there.
That's how.
Okay, so here's the trivia question about whiskey. There is one American-made whiskey that spells its WHISKY as opposed to WHISKEY. There's one American-made whiskey that spells its brand that way, and why? Mm-hmm.
I think no EY is indicative of it being Japanese style whiskey. I think I could be wrong, but
Scotch whiskey has no E. I don't know if it's true for Japanese though, but it's definitely originates in Scottish whiskey has no E.
Maybe it's the Japanese whiskey that has the E.
Well, most Americans have the E. Most American whiskeys have the E. There's one that doesn't because the family is actually Scottish. So when they started making their whiskey in the United States, they left the E off out of tradition.
Is that Wild Turkey? Is Wild Turkey the Scottish one?
TURKY, Wild Turkey with no E. No, it's Maker's Mark. If you go look at it, it's a Scottish family started making that, and there was no E at the end of that there. But I like the turkey idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the. I turned 21 in 2006, so kind of at the early years of like the microbrewery boom, and at that point in time, it was New Belgium was kind of the big one. New Belgium,
is
pretty international. Man. Yeah, Fort Collins.
There.
yeah, Fort Collins, a cool town. But we went up there and kind of explored the brewery and like did the whole flights, and we were. A whole bunch of us were 21, 22, 23, end up, having to call a taxi home sort of thing. But ever since then, every time I go back, man, like, when I turned 21, it was your standard fare of like Budweiser, Coors at any bar, America. And since then, it's completely been flipped. Now you don't know any of the beers, and it's amazing. I love these. I'm not so much of a liquor guy. Like I do enjoy a good tequila, but much more of a micro brew. The more bitter, the better. I'm a big IPA guy, so I love right up in your neck of the woods, Jimmy. Russian
Pliny?
River. Yeah,
Pliny. Yeah, that's it, man.
That is so good, man.
Delicious. Oh my God, dude! When they release that once a year, the line is around the block. It's like 15 minutes from my house.
Was it Pliny the Elder and Pliny the?
They do have a Pliny the Younger, but Pliny the Elder is the original, and that's the one they release the once a year, and that's the one that has literally lines around the block as waiting for the brewery to open to get the first pour of that delicious bitter, piney, fruity IPA. Oh, it's so good.
That's so good. Yeah.
Have
you guys come across the sours? I feel like for the liquor guys and wine guys in the world, the sours are an interesting one. Have you tried this, MC? Have you heard of this?
No, there's some really floral stuff going on down where I am with the different microbreweries, but it's all been, they were really taking off pre-COVID, and then they sort of, hit a bit of a road bump. It's hard to stay financially viable. So we've done a few trips down to, 20 minutes that way, 20 minutes that way, just local. But fruity, but not really sour. I haven't explored the sour end of things.
Well, so what they do is, and Jimmy, correct me if I'm wrong, but they do their batches of brew in retired wine casks. So it's got a hint of the vino on there, which the first time I tried it, would you want to drink that? But it's one of those things like it's like an IPA. Like the first time I tried IPA, it's like it
doesn't taste like Bud Light. Why would I drink this?
This isn't what I'm used to. But it has grown on me. That is how they come up with the sours, right? It's wine casket.
I don't know if that's the only way, but it's definitely one way to get flavors. I mean, it comes from Belgium, if I'm not mistaken. Like we're going back to like some of the sours where you could find some from like 1200 AD. Some of these places, these monasteries that were making the sour ale that became breweries. And, used to make, back then, they literally were talking about starving through winters, and they were making beers to help survive. Beers that were hardy enough to literally help monks survive through the winters in 1200, 1400, 1500 AD. And some of the sours, some of the yeasts from these Belgian breweries are literally that old. They've kept these yeast cultures alive in their caves. Amazing. And the yeast has a huge factor for the flavor of the different breweries in the Belgian areas and this the sour ales that they produce. And
I got a trivia fact for you guys. Do you guys know why it's called an India Pale Ale?
Yeah, because they had to transfer it from Britain to India, and it had to hop the shit out of it for it to last the journey and not spoil, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Bam.
Fun fact. Nice.
That's a hardy goldfish coming my way, Jackson.
I'll send you one after we get off the show, Jimmy. Oh, shoot. Hey, have you guys... Are you guys looking at a little Christmas vacation or something to the States, Matt? Is that something that you guys have more seriously considered?
I don't know. I've probably said enough anti-government stuff online that I wouldn't be allowed to come in.
That's all on
criminal record. Yeah, don't have a criminal record, that's so they might let me in. I would like to. I think a gun range would be a good fun visit. We don't have a lot of stuff available to us here in Australia. I'm sure you're aware. So yeah, some sort of a range down in Texas, and 2 or 3 earmuffs, and 50 cal, something automatic. Just that vibe. There's a fella got done for a tweet. Graham Linehan, who was I think he did IT Crowd. He's done a writer for a few different shows, and he tweeted something anti-trans while he was in the US, and then he flew back to Britain and got arrested. And I'm just thinking it would be hilarious if the Australian government said, while you were in America, you played around with an AR-15, so that's illegal under Australian law, so you're under arrest. It's like, how do you even make that make sense?
Arrested over posts? That just boggles my mind, dude.
Yeah, everyone's talking about
insane.
Just like this morning. Insane. Yeah, something to do with women should be allowed to go into a locker room and get changed without seeing male bits, and that was not a controversial opinion even a a few years ago, but
and it's considered
now to get you arrested in the UK, which is just
that's
ridiculous.
Pathetic, man.
So, yeah,
that's insane. That's insane. Yeah, free speech is going away. It's happening here. It's happening over across the pond over there. I don't know how bad it is in AU down there, but
yeah, there's a lot of posturing. There's a lot of talk about it, but yeah, it's they did have that fella who shot those cops. There was a protest march, and there was a here in Adelaide, and there was a guy who had a sign, a picture of his face and his name, and the cops have actually arrested him and bailed him for offensive conduct or something, just for holding up a sign of this fella who shot the cops. So they might be seeing it as I'm like, well, that's not a good way to say, hey, he's wrong about us being totalitarian. Is this guy held up a sign? Yeah. He held up a sign implying that we're totalitarian thugs. Let's silence him. The earth. Let's write some new legislation and then hunt him down. Find who this wrong thinker was. So they're really not reading the room. But
my goodness,
freedom of speech. You don't realize how valuable it is until it's gone, right?
Yeah, taken for granted for years and years.
Well, yeah, I don't know what I've got a good buddy who's married to a Venezuelan, and they've been married, I don't know, 7 or 8 years now, maybe a little bit longer, uh, and have done all of the green card and immigration paperwork. And they were looking to go back home. They live in Berlin at the moment, and they were looking to go back to the States to America's Wang for Christmas, and ran into all sorts of stuff because of the current administration. And now they're having to rethink all that stuff. So I don't know what it's like for non-American passports to try and enter the country at the moment. But
that's
sad too, man.
It's a crapshoot, man. It's a crapshoot.
Yeah, Trump got in on the whole freedom ticket, and then some fella got stopped at the border and turned away because he had an offensive JD Vance meme on his computer that was like, why are you even going through his computer? So, yeah, it's all well and good to say we got our freedom candidate in, but then you need to actually back it up with follow it up with some freedom, right?
Like you said, it's all posturing, bullshit.
Yeah. It's all posturing. Yeah.
Well, hence the negative connotation when I say politics. That's the P word. The P word. No P words.
Yeah. No, well, noun or verb. Different.
I think, to be honest,
applications.
Yeah.
For me, if I was to move away, I really feel like the ocean's just calling my name. There's guys I follow and mentioned a few times on Splinterlands 101, but oceanbuilders.com, they're making these pods, building these pods. They've apparently signed some memorandum of understanding with the Maldives, with the government there, to build like 2,000 of these floating homes that just live on the ocean. And it's early days, but when you consider how many people, billionaires just live on yachts basically full time, and the price of houses going up and the price of solar catamarans coming down, I sort of figure when it is time to retire, maybe it's time to retire under the water and not have real estate at all. That might be the direction that we go.
If oceans change levels, you're good, man. You just float with rising tides there, baby. Just got to watch out for the earthquake tsunamis.
Yeah, they're okay on a vessel. You don't even notice.
Tsunami.
There was some crazy shit that happened. There was there was that one up in Alaska Russian border up there, and it went all the way down to like Hawaii. And there were some reports that there were like 20-foot waves going through the ocean. So I don't know.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, I don't know how that affects. It was set by the time it hit Hawaii, there were like 3 or 4 feet or something. But they were watching, saying, "Oh shit, how big are these going to be when they reach Hawaii?" But if you got a badass boat, you're good.
Well, there's actually bands. I didn't know this, but there's actually a band around the equator that's never had a cyclone or hurricane, typhoon, whatever you call them, because the Coriolis effect. They spin one way in the northern hemisphere and a different direction in the south, and crossing the border, they just can't. So there's like a band all the way around the middle of the world where the waves never get above 3 or 4 meters, and they don't have any of those real nasty storms. So there's a lot of area that could be used for that, and I'm here for it, right? Like. It just, if you don't like the situation that's going on, you can just pick up your house and go somewhere else. And I think that mobility there's a lot of freedom in that.
So are we adding a new prefix? Is it Captain? Captain MattClarke? Are we going Admiral? What's the
Chairman? Yeah. Well, my prefix titles give me a production boost.
And then you would have to shave your mustache but keep the beard.
Yes. Yeah,
for the salty dog captain look there.
Master and commander. I'm often mistaken for Russell Crowe. Actually, that comes up. Chris Hemsworth. They hear the accent and they see the chiseled features and the physique, and they go, yes, I've seen you in movies.
Yo, I saw you in Gladiator. You were great.
Thank you, and you just say thank you and move on.
Yeah.
Not mentioning you were just an extra on the side. I was in the crowd. That's me up there, second row, raging in Gladiator. Though back to Splinterlands. You said you're pulling, you're putting more things on land and kind of retiring from the playing. I was kind of doing the opposite. I started pulling things off land, even buying cards. Like I wanted to pull my Play-Doh, the beta summoner, 5 mana.
Emberstorm. Play-Doh Emberstorm.
Yes, exactly. I'm like, I want to pull him off land and start playing again, man. He would pair really well with the Fina Venom Gladiator, with the opportunity piercing. Anyway, so I bought a Zarlan freak, I was like, ooh, a Play-Doh, cheap right now. Here's a little tip here. Anyone who wants to really get into wild playing, buy freaking beta cards now. There are some insane deals on the market. A Hydra for $49. You kidding me? Max Hydra? Amazing. Lord of Darknesses are around $50. Jangle, snag that last one before it's gone. Play-Doh was like $67. Cryptomancer, $67. Anyway, I'm like, all right, let me grab a $46 legendary to put on land so I could pull Play-Doh off. Doing some stuff like that. I ended up buying a maxed beta flesh golem for I think like $28 or something the other day. I'm like, you know what? I'm looking at the cost of modern cards. I'm like, man, some of these classics, some of these beta classics, they're so good in brawls and in wild that, man, I want to be playing with them. Yeah, damn it.
Totally agree. I was actually glad when the beta was announced and came out and it was the same cards, but the beta version, because then that meant that I wasn't, because a few people had said, oh, that's a bit rough. I can't afford to buy a flesh golem now because Matt's been, hoarding them all. And I say, well, look, go buy a beta one, right? It's very rare that it's going to come up that, okay, alpha tournaments, yeah, you need an alpha one or guild brawls. But if you want a flesh golem, you can get a beta one. I've not touched them. I think I have one low level. I'm really not hoarding the beta flesh golems. So if you want to,
what a snob! What a snob!
The alphas are mine. They're all mine. The ones that you think
There's
you
some
own,
alphas on the market now, man.
They just have.
I almost bought one this morning, an alpha. Yeah. There was one. There was a couple going for. It's still pulled up on my Peak Monsters. There's a couple going for a pretty good deal. 39 cents per BCX.
Yeah. See, I don't want to buy again. I don't want to fight myself. That's the problem. So if I'm known for consistently buying them, then I tend to, that drives the price up for myself for future ones. So I let it go for sometimes 6 months, and then I'll just go and grab a whole heap and they just go.
You got a price threshold, or are you just looking for volume?
No. I just if I don't know. Sometimes I look at my collection and just think, no, it's not enough. It's not big enough. So that's when I go and just buy some more. But it is funny. I think for most people, buying a flesh golem is, and this goes to all sorts of Austrian economics concepts about marginal utility and the like. For most people, they buy a flesh golem, they're getting a flesh golem. But for me, I'm sort of achieving three things. I'm getting one, and I'm also pushing up the value of all of my existing ones, and I'm also taking one off the market so other people can't buy it in future. So I've sort of got three reasons why I would buy one, whereas most other people really just have just that one reason to just have one. So it's a funny sort of a situation, because normally the more you have of a thing, the less you want an additional unit, right? The more cars you have, the less likely you are to want to buy another car. But for when you're hoarding something, when you want to be known as the one who cornered something, then you actually want to buy each additional one even more. And I've been thinking a lot about the way that cards even work. So, some of these promotional cards where you buy with vouchers, or the gold foils, legendaries. If I'm bidding for a card and I've got a spot in a legendary occupied plot, for example, and I've got a title to go with it and a legendary totem to go with it, it's, with the way all the multipliers stack, it's worth more for me to buy that card than it is for somebody else to buy that card. Somebody who's only got a rare plot, for example, to put it on, or someone who doesn't have any land and he just wants to use it to battle. So that same card is more valuable to me because of what else I have than it is to him. And I don't know what that does to sort of distort the market, but it kind of, I think, bids up the price even more so. You kind of really, really need to want it, because there are people out there for whom it is more valuable to them than it is to you. So even though it's less of a total share of my stake in the game, it's in just pure dollar terms or DEC terms, it's potentially going to be of more benefit to me than it is to you. So it's a funny way to think about these things.
Yeah, land has changed the dynamic big time. It's raised the floor for a lot of things. For example, like the way I was like, I want that Play-Doh off land, but I don't want to buy one for $67. Ooh, I could buy a substitute beta fire legendary for $46.
Yep.
Get the same value on land and start playing with the Play-Doh.
And that's the game. I really want to hammer this point home. The game is everything. like I said in the SPS DAO, when we were talking about the latest proposal, when we all got together,
the episode, the game is everything.
The game is everything. All of this is the game. Me coming on here chatting to you guys now, that's all part of the game, right? It is, and I'm not trying to be mercenary here. I'm not trying to say, hey, everybody, you're playing my game, but it really is. It's part of growing and building the community. Being known as somebody who was part of growing and building the community, this is all part of gameplay, including, what guild am I going to be a part of? What priorities am I going to push towards? I've got 2.5% of the wood LP. I just passed that the other day. I'd love to get up to like 5% of the wood liquidity pool.
How much wood does that require?
I think it's like $500-$600 worth on the little.
Well, how many millions of wood is that?
I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up. But I've got 2 regions that I'm cultivating just the most valuable plots, and so one of them is just wood and the grain to actually harvest that wood. The other region, I've got all sorts of stuff going on, a bit of everything. But the region 37 is just wood and grain. I'm just harvesting there. So, and just throwing pretty much all of it into the liquidity pool. So that's part of the game, right? That long-term position it's all part of how you play the game, and I love it. I'm here for it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough, and then it's tough choices. I'm doing that in one little area. I'm just getting all this grain. I have like a legendary grain plot and like 4 other grain plots in a region that's all I have. I pulled those and flipped them over, and one was legendary. So I'm just cranking out grain, dumping that into a liquidity pool. I'm like, you know what? Fudge it and and just dump it in there to build that position for long-term payback, hopefully. But then there's other things, I'm still trying to figure out if it's worth it, because I've been spending the last few months really beefing up plots. Yes, I've been pulling beta cards, but I've been replacing them with equal value or very close value. I've been putting a lot of max gold foil rares on Chaos Legion rares on plots, increasing PP. But then it seems like the cost to maintain the increased PP is almost more, because today I harvested land. And after a little beefing up, last time I did it, I had I think 6,000 DEC in resources left over. I was like, okay, cool. Let me throw that back onto land to put a couple more cards on, And then this time I harvested this morning, and I was at dead even. I had nothing left over. I'm like, I just put a crap load more PP on land and more DC, and now I have less resources at the end? How is this working out here?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, it might be
the grain consumption.
The exchange rate. I know Stone's normalized. Stone was trading much higher, and that's come back down. BK007's got his site. I can never remember the URL for it, but BK007. I just go to his Hive post and find it in there.
Yeah, he's got a great
land.spl-stats.
That's it.
I just pulled that up. Yeah.
And he is actually the one who DM'd me. He's the one who DM'd me and claimed that he'd been somebody had hit him and achieved the bounty, but they didn't actually message me yet. So if you've recently beaten BK007, I did. I didn't give the name of the opponent. He shared the link with me, but I didn't give the name of the opponent. But if you've recently beaten BK007, go and check back, and that might be But he's great, another asset to the community. But his site is very valuable. But Stone's normalized.
Yeah. I'm looking for my spreadsheet. I write down the exchange rate of every time I harvest. The resources get recorded. And I'm looking for it there. Resource cost there. Yep. Yeah, Stone 0.026. Nope, sorry, 0.071.
Stone has gone way down.
It's gone down a good bit. Yeah, everything's kind of dipped a little bit recently. Grain has gone up. Grain was at 0.008 per DEC a while ago. For a long time it was at 0.008. It's crept up to 0.009 on the 27th of August, and we are still at 0.009 today. But everything else has kind of dipped down a little bit over the past few weeks. Interesting.
How are you trucking along on your region build out, Matt? Are you still?
Yeah, still. still, I haven't changed anything in the last probably month or so. I've got all those cards that I'm no longer using to battle in wild, but DEC is always the crunch point. I sold some grain,
Totally.
and it was suddenly there's 90,000 DEC. I was like, yes, this is great, and then I went and started buying frontier cards with it because I just can't stop battling for some reason. So I grabbed a couple of frontier cards with that money and. And I'm just going to stake it into different into my regions and cultivate some of these other plots. So, yeah, I've got chunks of land in all sorts of different territories as well, which is just sat fallow. I've done nothing with it. It's just been sitting there. So, I kind of feel like if there's more interaction across territories or more reason to get amongst those, then maybe that's something I need to look at. But I think for now, it's just about building up the next. I've got all the legendaries and all the epics and starting to cultivate rares in my regions. But there is a lot of PP being there's a lot of production points already. So they're already very, very productive. I think maybe having a look at my land distribution and throwing some stuff against the wall as far as keeps go, so I can grab some of my, get a bit of a tax refund on some of the taxes I'm paying. And I also have, because I run the Roaring Twenties Guild, we bought 30 plots in Region 29 as part of a group buy. And we got lucky and got the castle. So I'm actually.
Whoa! Was it an unflipped plot, like an unsurveyed plot?
Yeah, unsurveyed. Yeah, so we bought them in a pool, and when I was opening them all, bam, there it is. So the castle in Region 29, which is quite active, belongs to the Roaring Twenties.
It's a Team Possible region.
Yes, yeah, largely. So we're sort of. That's great, and the guild has banded together and sort of lent cards to that exercise. So I've got Peak Monsters. Happily, it says who was the previous owner of all the cards, so I can send things back to their original owner. But we've got a lot of PP. With 19.1%, I think, is the tax rate, or the rate at which we're clawing back the tax. So every few weeks, I'll log into the Roaring Twenties account and claim that on behalf of the guild. The castle taxes there. So, yeah, it's just about running and administering all of that on top of doing all my own stuff. So I really love what Cryptomancer is doing with land. It's so difficult. I know there's been a lot of people saying he needs help. He's not calling out for help. I think he recognizes maybe that many hands make light work, but too many cooks spoil the broth. He kind of gets it. He understands what needs to be done, and I think he's just working his way through it. So I don't know. I feel like throwing more hands at land at this point, unless Cryptomancer actually says that he needs it. I think maybe just let him do his thing.
Yeah, I don't think we need to rush the development. It's moving along steadily. And honestly, I don't want to go too fast. I don't want to see another situation where we introduce 4 or 10 more resources with no use for them. And all of a sudden, everyone's stockpiling and there becomes this glut. And we have to figure out how to burn through it. No, I want the next resources to come out and we'll be like, guess what? We're crafting. Here's what you can craft with this resource. Let's create demand before we create the token.
Yeah, for sure. And that's where I love what Dave was talking about recently on the town hall about Cinder being, burn any card. You can burn it for DEC or you can burn it for Cinder, and that Cinder will be used with land resources to create cards that are only used on land that don't battle. I think that's a brilliant way of tidying up and tying off some loose ends and cards that don't really have any real use case or battle case. If you've got a plot that, especially somebody who's got a big rambling collection that they've collected over years and they don't play with 90% of the cards anymore, and the rental returns aren't there, and they really want to hit the ground running with their plot, to just burn it all into 1 or 2 cards that have got a real high PP and put them on land and start playing in that. I think it's a good option that a lot of people are going to take up. I know I will. There'll be certainly cards that I'll be burning for Cinder. And engaging in that market, and then combining them with resources and perhaps selling them. I'm assuming they're going to be sellable, transferable, rather than soulbound. I didn't catch if he specified, but there's a lot of scope there to make that another fun and interesting part of the game too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm dying for that release there because I considered buying some. Like, ooh, should I buy a bunch of cards for when time comes to burn? And it's like, man, I'm afraid of getting burned, pun intended, of the like the way common to legendary regular foils on the PP, there's really not much of that difference. You know what I mean? But once you hit gold foil, huge difference. But max common Chaos Legion legendary is not much more PP than a max, or much less than a max legendary. You know?
And the amount of grain you got to throw at it. That's the thing. I'd much rather put a gold, put a gold card on there, because then you it's all great to have a high turnover, but it's like, well, if I can get that multiplier for it being gold and I don't have to feed it any extra grain, well, that's where you're winning, right? So that top end with all the multipliers, that's really what I've been focusing on. But I do need to just put some of my more rare plots online and just do it. Just do the grunt work of working out which card to put where, and just make sure that I'm getting my absolute best out of land, because, again, they're not being used in wild ranked because I'm retiring. And I'm going to keep saying that over and over again until it's true.
Believe it when we see it, MattClarke.
Yeah.
I remember you being really keen on the whole land surf idea, and obviously that was backburned and then eventually kind of decommissioned completely.
Fake news. Fake news.
It was fake news, but we've since
Real
seen guys
fake news.
like Azurcon struck a deal with Dwayne and sent him, I don't remember the number, somewhere between 10 and 20 plots, and they had an agreement there. Azurcon benefited as he was the overseer of that region and therefore was able to claim taxes. And have you considered taking that route and kind of soliciting interest in delegating out some land plots?
I think I was more excited about the idea of land surfing for the game generally, rather than for myself specifically as a direction to go. I think land surfing would have been beneficial to the game for a lot of reasons. So I'm aware that I could potentially do that, most sort of run my own program and build my own relationships there. But the real reason I was excited for it was that I thought it would be good for the game generally, rather than necessarily for me specifically. So I would be, I think, a big winner with that. And I even thought through at the time, thinking, because at the time the original proposal for land surfing, which I'm not sure if any listener wasn't around for it, but the idea was that any plot that's not currently developed, doesn't have any PP by the owner on it or by anyone on it, can be developed by anybody. They can actually come along and assign their cards to that plot and pay some designated percentage as a tax to the owner of the plot. But if you've got land that you're not working, you can arrive one day and find that there are people working it and giving you an automatic kickback. And so for guys like myself who bought a massive amount of land that didn't necessarily have the cards or the DEC to justify it, the idea was that you were still going to get a yield from that land regardless. Now, I was however, if the owner applied any amount of PP, that would bump off whoever was there. And if an alternate player came along with more PP, they could assign more PP and kick off whoever was surfing there, because obviously that's going to be more lucrative for the owner. So it's sort of an auction, but the owner can come along and veto as well. That was the original land surfing proposal. I liked the idea. I was even thinking of ways to attract squatters, I suppose, to my plots. Things like putting up a public statement that if you're on there, I will give you 6 months notice before I kick you off, for example. Offering some sort of inducements to say, we're going to have the option to lower that tax rate to induce people to come to your plots and not the other guy's plots. Again, more gamification. And that was another reason.
96-ounce kangaroo states.
Exactly.
96-ounce kangaroo steaks. If you squat my plot, Jackson.
Yep. Eat the whole thing. Eat the pudding, eat the pudding, eat the pudding. And so that was another possibility for gamification. And we didn't go in that direction. And there's a lot of directions that the game hasn't gone in. And there's only ever one direction that it will go in. That's the path it took. But it's wonderful to be in a community where you can come up with an idea for a path that we should take. And you can put the proposal up there. It's not always going to pass. And even if it does pass, it's not necessarily going to be workable. but we're thinking, and there's a lot of really, really passionate people here thinking about stuff. So, yeah, I think it's easy to say, here's the guys that are known, the faces that are known. Okay, yeah, the opportunities to be a well-recognized name and face are gone now, and I don't have any opportunity to be one of those early adopters. And all of that mentality is really, it's not correct. You look at Keegs. I didn't know that name 6 weeks ago. And now this is somebody I'm having an ongoing DM conversation with. It's a face and a name. He's been on however many podcasts. His ideas are being taken seriously and discussed at length. You can absolutely become a face of this game. You can jump on Twitch. You can develop yourself an audience. If you're fun and engaging, now is the time when you can actually start building an audience. And again, it's the attention economy. AI can come along and take my regular fiat job very, very easily, but it can't come along and be taking over the MattClarke account on Hive. It can't come along.
Can't take your two castles. Can't take your two castles.
Can't take none of that. And, I expanded on this once before, but when AI comes along and does everything that you can do, the only way you can really support yourself is to own something, right? So if your job is word processing or something on a computer, AI can just do it. Right, but if your role is taking guests out on your fishing charter ship, your fishing charter boat, well, AI can't replace you. And it's not about your fishing knowledge. AI knows better where the fish are, possibly, but it's about having the boat. It's about what you own, and the ownership is really what's going to be keeping a lot of heads above water in the years to come. Assuming that AI does come through, and there's a whole lot of unemployment comes through as a product of that. It's what you own that's going to keep you afloat. Your source of income won't be what you can do or what you know, because AI's got those covered, but it's what you actually own. And so ownership is huge. It's always been huge for me. And I think here is a place where AI can't guess your private key. So AI can't stop you it can't seize your assets, your crypto assets. It can't seize your flesh golems or your land plots. So prioritize that. Like, invest in things that can't be taken away. I think somebody said, Washington maybe said, but you pour your purse into your own head and no one can take it from you. No one can thieve it from you. And if that's your 12-word phrase, your recovery phrase for your MetaMask, or like that, invest in things that can't be taken away and things that will bring you value in the years to come and that can't be undermined by alternatives like AI.
Matt, my brain just went on a quick tangent thinking about you being Captain Clark at sea, and I appreciate you embracing the idea of leading out the fishing boat charter there. I recall once upon a time on a 101 episode you were there. It might have been here with us. You were talking about taking your wallet keys, writing them down on a permanent piece of paper, and burying them somewhere in the boonies. Where are you going to bury your keys at sea, dude? Toss a seashell and.
Yeah, it's a good question. I guess I haven't really thought that one through. I could just leave them on an island somewhere. The buried treasure go with the pirate. There
you go. Lead in further.
I could be pirate captain chairman. The titles are really starting to rack up. But yeah, I think the buried treasure, the X marks the spot. It's time to go lo-fi, old school.
I just had the image of like a pirate eye patch that you can actually see through. It just looks like a patch, but it's actually you're using both eyes. That'd be awesome. And to your point about getting here, it's not too late to get here early. Again, looking at all beta cards, like I'm leveling up some stuff. I'm like saying, dude, I want to play some of these in battle. What's it take? Crustacean King. Boom. What level is it ideal? I can get a level 6 Crustacean King. I bought it for a couple of bucks, and it's got the protect, it's got the heal. It's got everything you need. The life healer, mother, whatever.
Kala.
Mother Kala, not the summoner, the healer, Mystic Healer. What's the name? No, the healer from Alpha
Divine
Beta.
Healer.
Divine Healer, yeah.
That's it. Yeah, a couple bucks you can get to where she's at that level where she's level 6 for a lot of those. We're perfect. Now is the time to get beta cards almost as cheap as they've ever been, with the exception of the J6969 sale.
Yeah.
SPS is under a penny. I mean, it's really like this is still early price ranges here, man. Like anyone who does want to get in early, it's still time.
But then the supply crunch with SPS running out, right? So there's the like it's cheap now, but we won't be far off before that. I remember when it was 5 years away, and it's like, they're going to keep printing SPS forever, and now it's like, that's getting shorter, right?
Close to the end,
exactly. One thing, Jimmy, there's a lineup that I love with some of those older cards. 12 mana. You need to get your original Earth Summoner girl. I'm going to blank on all of these now. Liana Natura. Then you get your Failed Summoner up first, and your Goblin Chef, and then your Wood Nymph.
He's great. Affliction and Poison.
Poison. So Failed Summoner. So those 4 cards in 12 mana, and it still holds up today. If I see 12 mana, I'm like, yes, can I do this? Not anymore, obviously, because I've retired from.
So Liana, Failed Summoner up front, Goblin Shelf. What was the 4th?
Wood Nymph. So Failed Summoner and Wood Nymph.
You bump the health on Failed Summoner, right? So then he heals for more.
He gets up to 12 health because he and her both have Strengthen, right? And Liana Natura. So those 3 cards will have Strengthen. So he goes from 9 to 12 health, right? So he's great. He's bulletproof, and he does Demoralize and Magic Reflect, right? So he's taking less melee damage. He's reflecting magic damage back. Your Goblin Chef in the middle there, he's lobbing your Afflicted, like for the longer term play, the Afflicted.
Poison and Affliction.
And Wood Nymph is just healing up your Failed Summoner, right? And it is such a bomb. So if you're buying those older cards, that is, make sure you can do that for a 12 mana wild battle, and you'll be that's a
you
big
heard
fan
it here first.
Yeah, sorry, Jangles, I cut you off a minute ago, mate. What were you saying?
No, you took me down the rabbit hole. I'm looking at all these cards, and so I loaded up after our last episode. I loaded up some cash to buy some land cards. I saw some really cheap black foils. All of a sudden, I was out like half of what I loaded up. My stupid ass thought that I would escape unscathed from taking a quick perusal on.
What's a really cheap black foil these days?
It was $100, like $105, $110.
All right, for a comic.
I got two commons.
Oh, I saw you won a black foil in last week's.
I did
distribution.
I did on
Spitting
on Frontier
Camel
mode, the camel, indeed, yes.
Yeah.
But I was looking at, man, Failed Summoner was such a great card. I remember those there's a few different routes. So in addition to what you just called out, I hadn't seen that exact lineup, but Earth used to be such a powerhouse in those mini mana matches. Whether it was Llama and if it's 13, 14 mana, you're guaranteed you're getting Llama, either Llama Flesh Golem or Llama Mercenary was another great play. And then the mini Mylor team that was Mylor, Failed Summoner. What was the Dice Earth legendary card? Immunity, Strength.
Oaken Behemoth. Reach.
No, the little card. It was one of the airdrops. Epona, yes. And then Queen Mycelia, and there was another card. Maybe Acid Shooter was a great compliment fantastic. There. Yeah, man. Those Earth plays 2 mana. So strong. So strong.
Then they did Mylor dirty with the old giving thorns to Tofu. Mylor was like this monster, Thorn Summoner. Then all of a sudden, I got a gold foil Mylor because of it, which was unthinkable before. But yeah, I still use that all the time in brawls, man. Mylor is still a great 3 mana Thorns. Jeez, come on, get out of here, get the fuck out of here. What are you talking about?
Yeah, man. But what I was gonna say, you guys were talking about the alpha market. I almost pulled the trigger on, instead of the black foils, I almost pulled a trigger on a Max Selenia Sky, which is one of those cards there's alpha. A bunch of alphas that never ever thought that I would have the chance to own. And now a Max Selenia Sky, I think the one I was looking at got bought, but there's one now for $175.
Yeah,
there's 5 available cards. There's less than 400 total in the ecosystem. So I feel like, you're looking at like the market. We've heard guys talk about the market caps of cards, and each card having its own market cap. Something like Selenia Sky. Yeah, having access to Dragon for 3 mana. Something about the alphas, man.
They're great.
I'm naturally attracted to the alphas so much more than the betas. The aesthetic is just so fucking cool. It's so cool. Nostalgic.
It's like 70s D&D.
Yes. Yeah. It's like borderline cheesy, but it's like the perfect mix of the artwork is cheesy, the backgrounds are cheesy, but it all just works together, and it's just amazing. Awesome. The border, yes,
and the borders, and they translate so well to gold foil. Like when those things gold foil, like the depth of texture when they gold foil is just freaking awesome. They're great.
Alphas are very cool cards. Yeah, agreed. So Flesh Golem, I am proud to say Flesh Golem is one of the few. I think I own maybe 15 or 20 alpha cards, and Flesh Golem is one of them. The number of cards, MattClarke, that I have purchased as a result of listening to you on 101 is just stupid, man. Like Grenadier quickly became one of my favorites after listening to you.
Oh, he was great,
especially with Yasik. Yeah,
so in Earthquake. Oh, he's just great.
He's a beast.
The fact that Snare blasts. I mean, why would you not want that scatter shot and that in Earthquake? Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Oh, you're going to make me play again, aren't you?
Yes, do it, man. And here's another
okay, so let's turn the boat here. What would it take?
Another trick before you do that, man. A lot of level 8 commons, like a level 8 Flesh Golem is almost as good as level 10. I think it like gains an attack, loses. There's some little transition shift that happens between 8 and 10 where 8 could almost be better in certain situations. Like I think it has more.
3 is definitely better than 4. I think I've kept mine at level 3.
Yeah, there's a few, man. I mean, there's like, and a level 8 Flesh Golem is like almost half the BCX as a max. So I mean, there's some incredible deals right now. If anyone wants to just stock up on wild cards, crazy. Now's the time, man. Now's the time to do it. I grabbed a bunch. I'm not buying them much more. So
the only card
I haven't mentioned it. Yeah.
The only card I've under-leveled deliberately is Cyclops because he's got 1 speed all the way through, and then just like at the last 1 or 2 levels, it gets up to 2 speed, and I only ever use him in reverse speed rule sets.
Why
would I want to slow him down when in the actual times that I use him? So, but otherwise, I just generally just max out the cards and
He's also great as a tank in
ranged only.
Yeah. Even though he might not be firing, he's got that shield and he's taking it.
Matt, I watch you. The number of times I watch you bully your counterparts on 101 with that exact play. You just can't penetrate. You can't get through him. He's too big.
Well, I'm going to struggle to do that now. I don't know. I'll have to send them challenges of. Frontier challenges or something if I'm
you guys just do ghost cards, man.
Oh yeah
you guys just do ghost cards.
Still got all my gladiators, I suppose.
So what would it take? Let's assume that there's a sliver of opportunity to wrangle you back into ranked. What do you think it would be? I know you love the game. You shouted out the pub brawl idea many moons ago on a TPG episode, and that sort of shit is just so fun. Something like, I think the Survivor bracket idea got approved, and the initial iteration is, I think it was 11 brackets, and within each of those brackets, I think we have, there's my understanding is the DAO. And what I think is so cool about the Survivor brackets is it's really the DAO kind of taking the ownership of, this is our game. That's along what Yaba has been preaching. There was a long period of time where, we wanted that pure separation of, church and state, so to speak. This is where these things start to like intermingle a little bit, and Survivor this survivor bracket idea, I think, is where the waters, it's what is it, the estuary, where the salt water and the fresh water start to mix. That's what we're seeing here, and I think it represents something so cool. So, is there a particular bracket type or something like that would is too compelling for Matt to ignore? That's what I want to hear. Tell us.
Too difficult. Look, I think if we're talking the occasional tournament, I could maybe play, but and again, Frontier, I'm dabbling in, but I think my wild days are over. Survival, I do like as a concept, but there's too many times I don't pay attention, and the times I have played it, I've only put a couple of hundred rounds into Survival, but I absolutely hate reaching for a card and it's not there, and I realize, oh yeah, he died yesterday. Even if he was on a winning team, he died yesterday, and I can't use him. So that does tend to frustrate me no end. But I do want to be quite resolute in that. My wild rank days are over. I don't know about modern. I don't know about frontier. I don't know about survival.
So there's a big sliver of opportunity.
I like the even 50,000 on wild. That can stay there.
It does have a nice ring to it.
Unless I'll accidentally misclick one day and damn it. Yeah,
we got to take you on this US drinking tour and then turn on Splinterlands on a laptop in some pub after you've had like 9% beers and just freaking get you playing again.
One of the guys at the meetup will do it, I reckon, because we often get the laptops out at the meetup and we're there at the pub and we're all, just doing some challenges and the like. And somebody will go, "Oh, just Matt's gone for a wee. Let's just give him a rank."
Oh yeah,
and you all rank that.
You come back and it's 50,001, and your ACD will be like, I gotta keep playing 60,000.
Matt, did you dabble in? So I think we've seen this happen to a certain degree, where Conclave was designed in a way to kind of reinvigorate the wild players and unlock all sorts of stuff that previously didn't exist, and we have seen that. Korjak. We have seen that happen to a certain degree. Like there's guys that I never ever saw prior to Conclave competing in modern leaderboard and modern tournaments, and I have to imagine that the same is also true on the wild side of things, where you're getting access to metas that just previously were impossible, because you can all of a sudden you can hail bloodlines, and it transcends the lock of elements. So did you dabble at all, or have you dabbled at all with like what does wild look like with this bloodline access?
No, I've not. I've really not engaged with CA or even a great deal with Rebellion. With Rebellion, I bought specific cards rather than packs. But my focus has been buying like the cheap Chaos Legion packs off the secondary market for a long time, because I feel like they're an anchor on how far the game can go while they're there, and very much underpriced. And also,
especially with Cinder coming in.
Exactly. And Cinder, exactly. And I mentioned that on our recent chat about Cinder being a competing reason to burn those Chaos Legion cards. But if I look at I'm just looking at my Rebellion now, of the actual core Rebellion, there's very, very few that I actually have of Rebellion, and I think none of Conclave Arcana. So, and this is part of it, is because I've kind of let the additions get away from myself. Because, hey, I know the cards I play with, I know the cards I like, I see the rule set and mana cap, and instantly I've got a team in my head. It's very difficult to then say, hey, I want to scroll past another however many thousand cards to, because we've got cards from all sorts of different editions. I'm going to scroll past all of those cards that I don't currently have just to find the cards that I already knew I wanted. So it's been very much for me, the focus has been Chaos Legion, just working land, and that's been part of the reason for the departure, is because I have let the gameplay get away from me, and I've had teams I've come up against in Wild that have none of the older cards. I could be playing in Modern, right? and there'll be all sorts of funky things that happen where I look at it and say, I think I might win this one, and then out of the blue I just get absolutely destroyed. And I think, there's all these synchronicities, and they've got the Archon bonus, for all of the gnomes get this, and all of the dwarves get this, and so I've felt for a while now that it's getting away from me, and I wasn't good in the first place, right? I wasn't a good player back in the alpha beta days. I'm passionate and I put the hours in, but I've never been great. So feeling like the actual ranked wild is getting away from me is sort of a big part of my reason to just sort of step away from that. And look, it's not a sad thing. It's just focusing on other things instead. I'm certainly not going anywhere.
Yeah. I'd love to see, because I know Bob, similar to you, he's very focused on wild, and he talks about some of these cards that he's picking up off the market and Geo. I'm waiting for the day that that trigger in Geo clicks and he's right back in it, because I used to love coming against the Pouffe and talking some shit on the heels of the battle. But man, I would love to see you guys do a couple challenges with Ghost Modern cards. Then you're not overwhelmed and paralyzed by, oh my God, there's a million new cards that I never had access to. It's just Modern. And I got tagged in a tweet the other day. Erroneous. He's a big commenter on land and brings lots of great ideas to the table. And he Dahote, shout out to DJ, tagged me in response to this. But the original tweet was, after playing for months with the new Splinterlands CA set, I'm giving it a score of 9.9 out of 10. Really, really good and large improvement over past sets. Everything about the card set is great. So, I think, again, back to the estuary analogy, I think, not to pat myself on the back, but just having that community testing involved and working with the folks that do invest the time into playing the game, and having that voice get immediately funneled to the team and that really tight feedback loop. I think Modern is in a place that I don't remember the game ever being. There are a couple of meta plays that are a little bit stale, a little bit too dominant, but again, it goes back to the community having that direct line of contact in determining what's coming with the legendary airdrops that's coming quickly down the pipe, what's going on with the mini set and the reward cards. How do we counter this stuff and keep everything balanced and fun and fair and fresh? So I would love to see you guys, really long-winded way to say, I would love to see you guys kind of come in completely fresh and completely ignorant to what's what in Modern, and see how that shakes out, and see if I wonder if the fun factor would be there, or if it would actually just be maybe a little bit overwhelming.
No, I think it would be. I've spent some time thinking about why it's engaging, watching us battle, and I really feel like seeing the guy's face while you're fighting, it just makes a massive difference. And again, I've had exposure to this with the monthly meetups here in Adelaide, where the guys will get together, the laptops come out, it's like, hey, let's have a couple of battles, and we'll swap laptops, swap chairs, and say, I'm gonna, I've had a few guys say, if I had your collection, I could dominate. And I'm like, hey, a laptop's here, step right up, and and so they'll have a crack at a few challenges and realize that just having the cards isn't the same as using them well,
or knowing them, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you just get spammed with Llama Cube? I hope you did. Oh, how the tables have turned.
And I feel like I'd almost want to get, and I've been thinking about this as well. There's a real thrill in being in person, and I know we can't all get that, and people are spread out and the like. But I feel like those who only play online don't really, and I heard about this same vibe from guys who were at Splinterfest, and they had there's tournaments, in-person tournaments where you're actually there, you're actually facing the person that you're facing.
Yeah,
exactly. And so having those at the meetups, and also challenging Bob and Geo in Splinterlands 101 episodes. And it's a shame, because when we get a guest on, often we're talking to them too long to actually go in and have some challenge matches. I know we would like to do that with Keegs, but I really feel like seeing the guy's face when you're beating him or when he's beating you is just delicious. And so I'd like to do. I've been banding around how it would look to do some bounties on Twitch streamers, and say you need to take this guy down while he's streaming on Twitch, right?
Yeah.
If you give me the link, I want to see the moment when you beat him on Twitch, and things like just the fun vibe of his listeners going, oh crap, Matt just took out a bounty on you, man. You be careful, because guys are going to be coming at you, try to beat you before the end of round 2, or any earthquake match that there's going to be guys hunting you down, or they're going to prefer water, because that's the bounty is to beat him with water. So I can see that being an extra fun way of going about things. So I really like the Twitch promotion. I hope that continues. I hope that expands. I hope the Twitch see the amount of viewing hours and prioritize Splinterlands higher in the queue. And so people who are going to Twitch to see, what's a good fun game, then there's a new angle of exposure to bring people on in that direction.
Yeah, I love that, man. Yeah, the bounties are such a fun way to engage folks that I would love to see the team kind of double down on this idea and make it a little bit more accessible. But in the meantime, I'm hoping I'm always looking for Ghostly and Tofu are my prime targets. I put that in our guild chat. Somebody shared your article, Unit Master. I think he commented on your post and said he would do as much, and he did. And I replied, Ghostly is also part of my guild, and. Yeah, there was some fun banter that came out of that. I'm definitely looking for the opportunity. It's tough, man, and I think the bounties they're niche enough to where it forces the strategy. And I know how these guys play. Like, we come up against each other in modern ranked often enough to where we hosted Truls a long time ago, and he was talking about. Battles with like Yuki and Yasik and Mondroid. And as soon as you see the rule set and then you see your opponent, and all of a sudden your perspective on strategy is shifted entirely. Is Yuki more traditionally a defensive first? Is Mondroid, like play to the rule sets kind of guy? Is Yasik just the strategy mastermind? And all of a sudden it elevates and it's 3D chess, like on steroids, especially. I can't imagine what that's like in person. Like, like the nails that go up on survival when you know that you've got your cards. I imagine that adrenaline is somewhat similarly elevated, in that all of a sudden it's not just me against Brave Tofu's avatar. I can see this guy in the room. Yeah. It's mano a mano. Yeah, it's
so good. It takes me back to like hanging out in my early 20s. Halo is on the original Xbox. We got the split screen couch co-op, and it's and I've just thrown one of those blue sticky grenades on the back of Alex's head, and I've seen it land. I know it's there. I look across.
You turn over to look. Yes, suck on that, bro. Yeah, it's so fun, man. So fun. I would love to see, and I think this was again a product of our conversation with Keegs, the idea of getting involved at conventions in some capacity, and like the traditional gaming shop. Maybe it's the game is much more accessible via iPad than I can remember it ever being, and you get maybe it's not the full experience. I'm still a desktop first guy all the way. I do dabble with Frontier mode has gotten me more engaged with mobile than I ever was before, because it's kind of inconsequential. It's just fun. I don't have to think as seriously about stuff. Like, this is Frontier on mobile is one of those things I can quickly jam a couple battles while I'm waiting in line at the grocery store, sort of thing. But the game lends itself so much better to mobile experience than it ever has in the past. I would love to see stuff like the in-person events come through. Maybe the DAO procures 100 iPads and we do a DAO tour of gaming shops and gaming conventions, and we really lean into that esports angle.
Oh, the esports is huge. I really think that's one of our strong points where we could dominate eventually. And the fact that you just said the game has never been better on mobile is a shout out to the team fulfilling a goal. We've been wanting to get more mobile friendly for years, and it looks like we're getting there, if we're not there already.
And Frontier is a great landing place to arrive and start. You do your tutorial campaign and you play in Frontier, then migrate onto Modern. So it's a much smoother pathway now for that new arrival. I'm very enthused. I'm not just optimistic about the future of the planet, but also about the future of the game. I would love to do that. I've even thought about, what you're saying with the iPads. I've even thought a gaming cabinet. The old like stand up, put your money in, and you got your stick, and Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat back in the day. How hard would it be to get a whole lot of those and just use an iPad, right? All it needs is power, put it at a caravan park, and have it be free to play, right? Anyone can just play as long as they like. And what is this game? I've kids at a caravan park, they play it for a few hours, and I don't have any dollars in my pocket, but I'll just play this game on the iPad, on the stand-up gaming cabinet, and get interested. Go home and let's investigate further, because that's really all it takes, is just for people to understand the concept and say, yeah, this is how I want to spend my gaming time.
That's a cool idea. Lots of opportunity. I know Blaze and Dave and I feel like every time I catch up with those guys or we hear from them on Town Hall, they're totally pushing the envelope in new directions in terms of, how do we creatively expand our reach and become more accessible? Because I mean, ultimately, I think that's our biggest hindrance is our reach. We just don't have it, and we haven't for a long time.
We're looking for there's a spot where the Venn diagrams overlap. There's people that are interested in gaming, but also people who are interested in crypto. And I think they're looking for Web3 games, and I think we're high enough in the results, especially with something like 93% of Web3 games are going under. It's a real terrible success rate, and so we're definitely one of the longest running, consistently performing projects. So I think people who are already looking for that crossover, already in Web3 headspace, they go looking for a game, they're going to find Splinterlands before too long. It's really about, okay, how do we broaden that net and say, how do we find people who are into crypto but not necessarily gaming, and how do we find people who are into gaming but not necessarily crypto, and present that argument to them, present that concept and that possibility to them. And I don't know, it's difficult to know what's the most fertile soil. If we get gamers in, are they just going to extract? If we get crypto bros in, are they not going to be interested in gaming, and they're just looking for the next crypto project to moon? I think if we just spread it far and wide and just see what works, I think is the important thing. And again, I come back to Yabba's got data on everything. He knows what worked. He back in the day the Kickstarter projects that we did, he's still got all the data on that. He knows what's worked in the past, what we've thought would work and then didn't. Like that was that Floyd Mayweather, all of that stuff that was just turned out to be a big, expensive
Waka.
farce of exactly. Waka. Yeah, Waka. I still use Waka a lot, actually. And scattershot rule set. Waka, straight to Waka.
I think we sold that thing for $2,500 though when it was dropped. Like that was the summer price there.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah. But if you see that and you sell your vouchers into that feeding frenzy, right? Then that's another way to play the game well.
Yeah.
Do you think the Venn diagram? I think Frontier completely flips the Venn diagram on its head. All of a sudden, we don't need to really go after the Web3 crowd first.
Yeah,
and I think Frontier represents a great new opportunity for us to target gaming first, and then also, hey, we've got this very cool, NFT. Still, I think carries the burden of poor connotation and scams and all the rest. But generally, I feel like Frontier changes everything. Like our whole narrative has been able to be shifted because of it.
Totally agree. And I think if we switch the messaging to own your assets rather than crypto project, because people hear crypto project and they're like, it's going to collapse. And if it doesn't collapse, my stuff's going to get stolen because I didn't handle my keys right. I'm going to lose my keys. And they remember the guy with the Bitcoin wallet, and it was in a hard drive and it got thrown in the dump, and now it's worth $8 billion, and the council won't let him go rummage around in the dump because it's not safe. And all of this mentality that comes along with a lot of the baggage that comes along with it. If we could say, hey, come here, and the assets that you earn, your cards that you earn, they're actually yours. Like, you own them. No one can take them away without playing too much into the whole, it's cryptocurrency, it's cryptographic. You need to understand private keys, private public key pairs, all of that stuff. Get away from the intimidating language and just say, hey, look, come here, you'll own your cards. You can actually sell them to people, and we encourage that. We're not going to try and jump on you and stop you. You can even rent them to people if you like. That kind of thing.
Making them sellable was the best move, I think, for Frontier Mode, because that just kind of put it into a whole other place. I'm still shocked at the market. What the market has market for some of those.
Yeah, I spent 20. Both of us, we both spent cash on Frontier cards in the last couple of days.
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
I bought a few. I bought a legendary for $1.38 or something. The fire guy with blast.
Yeah,
and I actually pulled I pulled the gold foil death summoner the other day. I was like, I haven't got like any summoners from chess. I'm like, are they even in here? What the hell's going on? Gold foil death summoner, and all of a sudden I'm like, ooh, I could play like level 2 cards now. Bam! Like, that's amazing.
I love that artwork, by the way. Thalgrimor. Yeah, that
the salamander
is badass. No, the salamander's cool too, but the death summoner.
Most of the characters are amazing.
Yes, I agree.
Fear mode.
You guys want to take a wager on what you mentioned Waka going for $2,500 on day one? You guys want to guess what he's at now on the market?
$179.
Maxed Waka, I would say 50. Let's go 53.
Oh, wow.
$53?
Yeah.
Matt, you're not far off. 88.98.
Okay, well, that's good.
And there's four of them listed under $100.
Ooh,
it's crazy.
Ouch! Bam!
But if you think they're underpriced at that, by all means, dive on them.
Buy them.
And that's I was talking about Failed Summoner when Peak Monsters first came out, and they had the max option where you could just click on a card and max, and then see what it costs to get it to different levels. I was this close to buying a Failed Summoner for $23 at max level, and then I clicked on the gold one and saw that a max gold was $9.
Yeah,
so, no brainer.
Why would I?
That's Jimmy's trick.
Yeah, no brainer.
That's my trick. Yeah,
and obviously a lot of those opportunities are kind of gone now because there's people running bots on the market.
Well, they still come up, man. They still come up.
Yeah.
When I've been doing this beta shopping, I've been like, ooh, you can get a max gold foil for $4 more than a regular foil.
Yep.
Yeah, might as well. Yeah.
There's a max gold foil blight for $140. That's
That's nuts.
Do it.
That's crazy.
That's like long term. That's gold right there, man.
Man, I feel like Blight is
decision.
Oh, he's the best card in the game. He's one of
the best, man. And cool.
And he's badass.
Cool.
Yeah.
Get it, dude.
So
do
many.
it.
Yeah.
I love he's gonna do it.
Little League, I'm all about scavenger. Because all of those Little League cards tend to be so few, such little life. And it's such a bloodbath on both sides. So scavenger cards really hold up well in Little League, just consistently. Mm-hmm. And he's the king of the scavenger cards. So, scavenger and life leech. So him at the back end of a Little League team, it's almost an auto win. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I wonder what regular foil max blights are going for these days. They got to be cheap too. If
that's about the price point I was thinking for regular. So if you can get one for gold for that,
I'm gonna look right now. Yeah. Do. I still use Monster Market.
Matt, over the episodes, I've heard you mention kind of your ideas for new rule sets, new abilities. I think Magic does Magic Reflect or something to that effect?
So one idea I've had was that Magic cards that deal magic damage take double magic damage. So if you bring them in, you want to make sure that they're not getting hit. right? Not getting hit by magic damage at least. So you might bring in magic cards, and the other guy doesn't have magic cards. Well, then there's not really much,
consequence.
Yeah. But if you bring in, say, Goblin Sorcerer and bury him in the middle, this is an alpha card, but he's a sneak. Well, then if you can make sure that their magic cards aren't hitting him, but you've correctly guessed that their rear card is going to be magic, then instead of doing 3 magic damage, maybe you've summoned him with Obsidian, so now he's doing 4 magic damage. Now that's getting double to 8 because you correctly guessed that their last card was going to be a magic dealer, right? So it's about what do you think they're going to play. So I think, magic cards take double magic damage would be a fun rule set. Another one I've thought of is poison stacks. So if you poison a card twice, it takes 4 damage per round. And also...
that's how you boost Waka's stock.
Yeah, exactly. But also the other one I was thinking of was... I'm blanking on the... Amplify stacks.
I would love to see that.
Break out your Mylor with 3 Amplify cards, and then those Thorns
6
are doing
damage.
6 damage per...
Jeez, I like it.
Just So I think taking existing rule sets and just saying they stack is a way of, it's kind of, increasing the complexity, but you don't have to learn new concepts now, right? We know how Amplify works. We know how Thorns, Magic Reflect and all that work. And again, that's a way of saying, if I'm really right about the team that you're going to play, I can play, cards that reflect that damage, and obviously Deflect then gets a big workout, but that puts a bomb under the value of those cards that have Deflect, right? Or those summoners that offer it. So, again, poison stacks, amplify stacks, and there's a few other different rule sets I came up with. I can't think of them now, but that would also work with the being stackable.
Blast. Somehow stack.
Blast.
Call it going nuclear. Bam.
Yeah.
Blast extends an extra monster.
Yeah. Blast has piercing through monsters, so if you wipe out one, like if one monster only has 2 health and you're blasting 6 damage, goes on to the next monster.
Yeah, I like it. Well, you could say shatter blasts. So any card with shatter shatters the armor on either side of those. There's all sorts of stuff you could do, and we are due for new rule sets. And I think Yabba mentioned it recently that they're on the way. So that'll be good fun
coming
for those who are still playing.
Maxed regular foil blight is $33 right now.
Oh, that's insane.
A max what?
Regular foil Dr. Blight.
Oh,
$33. Go get it, Jangles. Bam.
I got one.
Bam.
I got one. I will say that goal, I do have 2, not max.
Oh, there you go.
That gold foil does call my name though. $140 is just crazy. That's crazy.
Do it. You'll be thanking yourself in like 6 years. You'll be so stoked.
Yeah.
You will.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's so many of those because I came in chaos. And then I did manage to stack a decent chunk of Untamed cards, but when Rebellion was coming out, I wanted to stay in Modern, so it was kind of I wasn't a big landholder, so it was kind of a no-brainer for me to, try and sell as high as I could, and then turn that into Rebellion stuff. But because of the timing that I came in, man, there's still a bunch of cards that I don't think I've ever even played. Like I know the meta stuff, but. Just scroll, and I'm pretty familiar with Untamed, but Alpha Beta, that's the stuff of lore for me. Like it's all new. Like a lot of this stuff I just don't know. Like, the Death Squad used to be fast and furious. I have played Hydra. Llama Hydra is a play that I've unfortunately come across and and fallen victim to a number of times. But like the old school death plays, man, like Skeleton Assassin and Undead Priest,
Lord of Darkness with the
Lord
Pegasus,
of Darkness,
Pegasus,
dude, I almost bought.
That was another one, man.
I almost bought that one the other day. You should buy it,
and that's one where level 3 is really close to a max level. I think it's just like 1 less damage or 1 less health or something. Where it's like it's worth the half the price to not have to buy a max level, and you can still kick ass with it.
$34.
For a level 3 or for a max?
For a level 3.
Get it, Jimmy. You'd be crazy not to.
But my so the issue, and maybe I'm stretching the word issue, but it'd be for my silver account, and I can't play level 3. I can't play level 3.
Well, then get a silver level. Silver level doesn't have healing, though. That's the problem. It doesn't have tank heal.
Yeah.
It's just got reach and something else. It really shines once it hits level 3.
Reach, flying, strengthen.
Eventually you will, man. These are the things. These are like these legacy cards that they're so remarkably cheap right now. It's the best deal we've had in years, man. Some of the beta cards, so good in wild.
Yeah. Yep.
And hopefully there's more use cases coming, like actual use cases and modes and stuff where we get to play these older cards more, you know? I think we were talking about it on the Team Possible call recently, how just that would really be a smart way to do things. You know, not just say cards go on land. Like, you got to choose, you know, do they go on land, or can you actually do better with them in a different mode, or 2 or 3 different modes?
Well, I think that's what these survivor brackets can do, is it can spawn these of, like very cool modes where, some cards shine more than others. Like, I would love to see where an alternate universe where Thispa and the rest of the Riftwatcher summoners, Dallin, they're actually the best in that mode. Like, I don't know what that looks like, but maybe there's a different interpretation of how cripple. Yeah. Even still, I don't think Dallin would shine.
I bought a max Ilthane for like $14 the other day. Ilthane, the return fire, because I forgot I had it on another account for survival, and I was like, I don't have a regular. I was putting gold foils on land. I'm like, I don't have a regular foil Ilthane max. What the hell? Bought one, then remembered the account it was on. I was like, oh yeah, I've got like 3 of them somewhere else. But it was still like $14. It was still insanely cheap.
And like, Skargor, that's another one that I feel like should be really good in certain situations. Amazing. She's great. Yeah.
Oh, and no magic. That enrage for everybody is insane, and like melee only and stuff.
Enraged, forgotten one. That dude's a beast. Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Skargor is great. And it's the female dwarf, which is awesome, with the beard.
Does she have the beard?
Tolkien. Oh, yeah. Check it out.
Oh, she does have a beard. Yeah.
Right. As dwarf females are supposed to in Tolkien lore.
Yeah, they nailed that one. All right. Well, Matt, we've bent your ear for a little more than 3.5 hours now.
Well, we're halfway to the marathon. Do we keep going? 6 hours? We doing it?
We've got our 150th episode coming up. I've been trying to think, like, what can we do that
have 150
a worthy celebration. 150 guests. Yeah. I'll let you organize that one, Jimmy.
Live mic. Just go to Tavern. Drop a link. Here we go. First 150. We're in. Live mics, nothing muted. Go.
That actually might not be a bad idea. I mean, we pay for premium Zoom. We could host a shit ton of people, but yeah, you can play host on that one, Jimmy. Key host. I'll be part of the crowd.
I'll do the G. I'll do the G. Who's coming on next?
MattClarke, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to hop on with us, man. Happy coincidence that you looked at the wrong schedule. You ended up having the day off, and we could extend this thing for a couple of extra hours. Always keen to hear your thoughts and perspectives, and hopefully it's not too long before we see you back in leaderboard contention in some way, shape, or form.
I was never in leaderboard contention. You're being kind. You're being very, very kind.
Ranked contention. We'll call it that way.
No, thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it. I appreciate what you do for the community, for all of this. The attention to detail and keeping your fingers on the pulse and committing your own time to all this as well. So I really think that together we're doing something that's worthwhile. I think we're building relationships that are going to last years, if not decades. and we're creating a brighter future together. So I'm really appreciate the opportunity. I'm happy to come back on anytime. You guys are both welcome to come on Splinterlands 101. And as is anybody, put your hand up. We're always happy to interview people, new people, old people, what have you. So yeah, just engage, right? Just engage and have fun. And yeah, thanks again.
Awesome. Jimmy?
And right back at you, man. Right back at you. You've been a pillar of this community since literally day one, and that does not go unnoticed and unappreciated. And I think your appointment to DAO chair is kind of a indicator of that.
Couldn't agree more. Awesome. Well, we'll do it again sometime sooner than later, MC. In the meantime, be looking for the next 101 episode. Do you guys have a schedule for publishing? Is it every Friday, Saturday?
Yeah, I think we start record. We've got another session tomorrow morning, my time. So, sort of 20 hours from now, I think, roughly 19 hours from now. But then Bob edits them and pieces them together, and then posts sort of usually about 12 hours later. So yeah, it depends when we can get together, though.
Gotcha. Cool. Okay.
So we should do double appearance, man, to show TPG Storm 101.
Do a crossover event.
Totally.
Yeah. Love
it. All right, everybody.
All right, guys. Cheers.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. Yeah, thanks again, Matt, for swinging by and hanging out, and looking forward to the next steps of the chair. We'll see how long you can actually sit in the chair and not play battles, but TBD. All right, everybody.
Thanks,
we'll catch
guys.
you next week. In the meantime, you have been listening to
The Flesh Golem Sanctuary, the People's Guild.
Songs echo through